That is bizarre. Sorry about that. Sorry I'm late, everyone. I was having a weird thing. I don't know. I had a weird issue with TikTok. It let me go live, like right when I pushed live, it would just close out the app. So hopefully you guys are seeing this. Let me look at me. I'm in a garage. I don't even have my background up. It has been a morning and a half today. There we go. We're up. We're live. We're doing this. Hopefully, you guys got to see some of my cool apparel in my garage. Not apparel, memorabilia in my garage. It's a mess out here after Christmas. But good morning to everyone. Hi, Felice. I'm sorry.
I
Hi.
forgive you if you forgive me for saying you're a slut yesterday.
Did you say that?
Remember? I just thought I'd preemptively bring it up if you were gonna like drag me for it.
It's not the first. It's not the first time I've been called that. It's not the worst thing I've been called.
You know,
I
the
was.
interesting thing about me calling you a slut yesterday was that I really did not plan it. It just came out of my mouth
It
out
sounds
of
like what you're
nowhere.
saying is the interesting thing about that is that you really do think I'm a slut. That's what it
I
sounds
mean,
like you're
I
saying.
didn't know I thought that.
Wait, why do you think that?
It
What
just came out. I don't know. I just yelled it at you
is this
suddenly.
about Bobert again?
Oh yeah, well that's when I said it, right?
I don't remember. I'm off the Bobert train. You guys have
Well,
successfully.
Bobert's after last night, you could help her get her life back together.
I think I text.
She's in shambles. Her whole life is in shambles. She's
I
got to
think I
run in a
texted you
different district.
yesterday that I wanted to be her rock bottom.
Exactly. And then I said, "You're a slut."
I'm gonna take her to a $5 matinee in like the grimiest. I don't know much about
Oh yeah.
Phoenix, but
And I
whatever the
said, "Take
grimiest theater is in Phoenix, that's where we're going.
just a matinee.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a matinee. We're gonna share a small popcorn. We're also gonna share a drink. I saw a great movie
Yeah.
yesterday, by the way.
Just wherever they're playing Beetlejuice,
Where
just take her there."
Listen, she doesn't care about what's actually on the screen. She's more interested in what's underneath my zipper. I think from the videos that I've seen, that seems to be what she's most interested in.
Yeah, she's really put herself, she has painted herself into a whole corner. Should we start with that? Should we start with Lauren Boebert? Because I do want to read. The whole reason we were talking about this is because if you guys don't, I mean, I know not everyone spends their life reading far right posts from MAGA, but Laura Loomer is
Wait,
out of her mind,
before
but
we go to
she,
that,
okay, so
before we go that, when you said she was painting herself into the corner, new merchandise from working the corner to painting yourself into one,
stop.
and we could
What?
use
We
her we could use her profile picture from Seeking Arrangements, and then we
I
could
still
use.
don't know if that's real. I still don't even know if that's a real thing.
I don't
Is
know
that,
either, but I do. But when I imagine Lauren Boebert, I
but
always imagine
I,
the massive tattoo above her flat ass.
I just want to say, like, I support sex workers. Like,
I
it's
do.
like we're like
I
on the
do too.
like the fifth
Why?
wave of
Wait.
feminism. Like, I support sex work. There's nothing wrong with it. Like,
Okay.
well, and
Can
I'm
you
just no.
can
This
you
is my thing.
support can you support making a fun wordplay after painting yourself into a corner? We can support sex work and wordplay at the same time.
Yeah, well, oh, we both have our sweatshirts on. Guys, if anyone wants any of our merch, it's available in the store. The links are in our Linktree bios. Yay, sorry, I just thought I'd fit that in there. But no,
Uh,
here's my thing about sex work. I've never personally done it, but I'm not. But this is no, this is the thing. Can I just say my thing about sex
I'm
work without you
sorry.
laughing hysterically? You don't know
Sorry.
me. I could have done it. Anyways, so the thing about sex work is I realized like there's many ways in capitalism to sell your body. And like I've already participated in one. Like I sold my body for an education I played division 1 sports and like I probably when I'm like 60, I'm not going to be able to walk. I'm going to have lower back problems. Like it's worse for football players. Like I have friends that have, you know what I mean? Like their backs are completely messed up. They were playing with like epidurals, like and For what? For nothing. So, like, I'm just saying, there's many ways to sell your body in capitalism. So, I'm not judging people who are doing it for
You,
sex work. We
you can
kind of
literally
sell
sell your
ourselves.
blood and your
We kind of
semen.
sell ourselves. If you're a social media influencer, like, that's why I think, like, the next natural iteration of being on social media is probably like OF, like a spicy site,
Well,
because it's the same thing.
I got two baby boys sitting in a freezer in
I don't know
Scottsdale.
I'm
Two
scared to know what that means. Do
oh,
you have
these are
embryos frozen?
yeah, two of them.
Oh, well,
They're
I
both
didn't know
boys.
that.
But so if yeah, I mean, I guess I guess if
Oh,
I
so
made it
you
big,
could
I could
have all
sell
your
those.
kids with your ex. So they're
What?
they're embryos, not just your semen that's frozen.
Correct. Yep, that's correct.
So you could have all your kids will be from the same mother, essentially. That's smart. I think that's smart.
Unless your kid sucks, but my kid doesn't suck. We went
I
and
mean,
saw
unless you get
Migration
someone else
yesterday.
pregnant. I mean, I guess it's possible.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I think that's actually a good idea because, like, why have multiple mothers of your children when if you could just have one?
Yeah, sure, sure. Tell that
I
to Nick
it,
Cannon. I don't know. Don't
that's what
talk to
I'm
me about it.
saying. Like, I don't
I got
know
one
what
baby
Nick
mama.
Cannon
That's
is.
it.
That's a whole nother. I could talk about Nick Cannon and what he's doing for that. It's the same like disease that Elon Musk has. Elon Musk is one of those people too, like these birther people that
Yeah.
they believe that like their genes are superior and it is like the biggest favor they can do the world is to procreate as many times as possible.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking that this morning when I woke up. We
No,
need more
that
Elon
is not the
Musk.
case. Oh, I thought you were going to say that about you. I was like,
No.
I don't think, I think we're good with however many embryos you have frozen. I think we're
Yeah.
good with those.
I don't know what we're actually going to do with those. We talked about it the other day. I think
Oh,
you
can I
can
be your surrogate?
well, I don't no, I don't want more children. Um I
Just
think you
kidding.
can
How
donate those to
creepy
science
would
like
that be? Can I carry your and your ex-wife's baby?
sure maybe what we do is we do like a giveaway.
No, I
You
definitely
know, for
don't want
like
to do the part
when
of
we
actually
hit
having my body
50,000
ripped apart.
followers, somebody gets an embryo or subscribers
Somebody,
on YouTube, somebody gets
somebody
an
gets
embryo.
to be
Yeah.
Jay's surrogate. That
Yeah.
doesn't sound like a prize. But okay. Like that sounds like a punishment. Like we should
No, no, wait, hold on though. I was watching America Fest, and it
Oh
is my
God. Oh yeah,
understanding
that's
that
true.
it is literally the role of women, and what you are created to do is carry babies.
That's what I learned from America Fest is that I have no purpose.
You're right.
And
If you have
until
no
I
uterus, you
start
literally have no purpose in the
exactly,
MAGA
that's what I
movement.
learned from that's what I learned is that there's no place for me
They probably
over
hate
there because my
hysterectomy so
the
bad.
only job of women right now is to increase the white birth rate. Also, yeah, like I'm part
Maybe
Native
should we jump into
American,
that one instead?
part African American. Which one?
Should
What
we
are we
talk
talking about?
about the white birth rate?
What about it?
Well, we have that on the list.
Oh, is it on there? Which number are you talking about? There's so many horrible things.
Number 11. I'll read it.
Oh God, yeah.
Charlie Kirk hopped on Twitter. He's feeling the holiday spirit. It's not a great shit.
You okay?
Yeah, I just finished making a video about Bryce Mitchell. That's why I
Oh,
was
you
like
made
kind of like
content? Good
yeah, I made
job.
content this morning, and it's probably the best thing I've ever made, which isn't saying a lot. But this is Charlie Kirk yesterday, 11:30 in the morning. Charlie Kirk's like, "This is what we got to talk about. It's not a great replacement theory. It's a great replacement reality." And he's doing the Donald Trump thing where he's capitalizing things for no fucking reason. I don't know what this is. I honestly, there's part of me that believes that there's some sort of, they figured out something when speaking to Republicans that if you like misspell things and put capitals in the wrong place, it like I think it maybe makes them feel more comfortable because they're used to that. I don't know. But just this year, 3.6 million foreigners will invade America. Am I having a stroke? 10 to 15 million will enter
Possibly.
by the end of Joe Biden's term. Each will probably have 3 to 5 kids on average. First of all, are you just saying that like that Latin people
No,
just
but
have
this
a lot
is
of
the
kids?
thing. You
Is
got, I
that
mean,
what
this, if you don't get it, like read the birth dearth, the
I
white birth.
did?
That's
Well,
what they're talking about. This is in a book. Like,
yeah. While native-born Americans will have 1.5 per couple. You are being replaced by design. Truly the most depressing story we cover. The most depressing. First of all, there's school shootings all the fucking time. There are people dying in the streets that are unhoused. There are people with no access to medical care. There are women losing the rights to their own bodies. But the most depressing story is that people that aren't white are having more babies than people who are white. That's the most depressing story that we cover. And with that, I would challenge any MAGA to come up and tell me Charlie Kirk is not a white supremacist. Like, read that.
Please do come up
then
and
just
tell us about Charlie
give
Kirk
me
not
your
being a white
argument
supremacist.
why Latin people having
Or a
3 to 5
fascist.
kids on average is truly the most depressing story we cover. Tell me you're not white nationalist.
And you can Google this, but we haven't gotten to our outline for a couple of days. But I believe it was the New York Times or something was announcing just a couple of days ago that this is going to come as a shock. Prepare yourself, MAGA. It's happening. Texas, the white majority has been officially lost in Texas.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's right. Here,
That is
let me
truly the most
find the article.
depressing story we will cover
I know,
today.
and I didn't even get to actually cover it. But yes, people, the white majority has been lost in Texas. The Latinos have taken the non-white Hispanics have taken over. Yeah.
It's just terrible. Soon we're gonna start having culture. People are gonna be able to dance in Texas. It's gonna be
footloose.
unbelievable.
I'm gonna find the article. But yeah, it's the new figures showing out Latinos outnumbering white Texans by about 129,000 cap off a population boom that has been culturally recasting the state for several decades. The state had a white majority from at least 1850 until 2004. Then white people's share of the state population dropped below 50%.
What happened pre 1850? Why was it not mostly white? Like, before 1850, was there any reason that maybe Texas wasn't a majority white?
I don't know. I can't think of anything.
Somebody commented earlier. I think it was Cake said make Texas Mexico again. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
We should get that. Would be a good shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the white majority has been lost in Texas. Texans everywhere are weeping, I'm sure. But this is why gerrymandering is so important. If you're wondering, like, why have think tanks like the Heritage Foundation been pushing social engineering projects like Project 2025? It's because they predict, and it's kind of outlined in the birth dearth with the loss of the white majority, unless they come up with ways such as gerrymandering to remain in power, they won't remain in power, which is the same reason why, we don't have direct democracy or we don't use the popular vote to elect a president because
Right.
they don't have the majority, right? So they have to gerrymander, they have to have representative democracy, et cetera, et cetera.
The part of that tweet that is consistently blows my mind, where MAGA people can't understand that they're racist. This is, if you agree with that tweet, you're actually, like, there's no way around it. You're racist. That's the only way that you can interpret this. This sentence, you are being replaced by design. What are you saying? Are you saying that
They
brown
think this is
people
a
can't
plot.
think? They can't think for themselves. Us liberals have designed a system because brown people are just going to do what we say, right? So we're like, okay, come to our border, come here, start reproducing, and then vote Democrat. That's the design. Are we down there recruiting in Mexico? Are we down there recruiting in Venezuela? Is that what we're doing now? We're down there selling them this dream, but like part of the contract is they have to have between 3 and 5 kids, and they have to vote Democrat. Like every Republican idea falls apart when you think about it. Like if you think about what Republicans are saying, you're like, oh, that doesn't make any goddamn sense. You have to stay so much on the surface level that you can't take one step below the surface or your story makes no sense at all. Or at the very least, you can't explain it. But what are you saying? How did we design this? Who designed it? Who's pulling these levers? Who has the ability to say, we need 2 million people at the border now, and then they just show up? Who has that ability?
Yeah, if anyone would like to come up and explain it to us, guys, tap the screen. Let's get to 15K. Share the live. We would love to have a Republican come up and explain to us how they feel about Texas losing the white majority. Or, Charlie Kirk constantly every day on Twitter talking about the replacement theory. And someone also asked, we can go into number 26. Like someone asked us to speak about the Biden's migration crisis. I do think that that's interesting. There's a good Washington Post article. There's some articles in New York Times about it that are good. Top Biden administration officials meet in Mexico for migration talks as southern border crossings increase. And there's like a caravan coming from southern Mexico of migrants. So they met with, what's it? God,
Are they?
Andres
Did
Manuel
the caravan
Lopez
originate?
Obrador.
Did the
What?
caravan originate in southern Mexico, or that's just where they've picked up? Like,
Where they picked up.
okay,
Yeah, where they picked up. No, and the discussions, just to be clear, and this is what I'm saying, just as someone who lived in South America and understands the migration crisis that the United States created, right, by destabilizing countries to the south of us. When they're having these roundtable talks, Anthony Blinken was there. You know what they're saying, right? People who know and understand foreign policy south of here, you know what they're telling us to do. What do you think it is? I'm saying every day, hey, you guys need to undo what you've done in Venezuela and Cuba.
oh, I thought they were saying "Good job, America. You guys are the
Yeah,
greatest." I
keep
thought
up the
that's
good work. Keep destabilizing countries and then complaining when the war torn when the refugees show up from the countries that you destabilized, enacted tariff against, and won't recognize in the world economy. It's the strangest thing. They
you know
said,
what's the
"Hey,
strangest?
maybe you guys should recognize Venezuela and Cuba and
You know what's
undo
even
what you've done."
stranger than that? That you love Whisper so much that you brought him with you into your box.
Oh,
If you
he's
look
down
over
there.
your
I
right,
know.
yeah.
I
What
know.
is that?
It's his thing from what do you call it? Discord.
Yeah,
That's his
did you
Discord.
screen? Oh, did you
Yeah, I
screenshot the?
screenshotted
Oh,
this like a
okay.
long time ago, and
Whisper's
then
just chilling down there, face
I
down,
do
booty
know
up,
about that. I didn't
hanging
delete it
out.
because I saw it.
Do you want to move just a little to the side? If you guys want to look at this picture,
You
with that
can't
is
really
Whisper
see it.
face down, booty up. He chose
He's
that
on his
as his
bed.
profile
Is
picture in
that still his
Discord.
picture? That was
If
my
you're not in
favorite
our
picture.
Discord, that's what you're missing.
Anyways, so yeah, they were talking about the migration crisis and the need to invest in countries south of us to stabilize them, which is a high level conversation because we do have an immigration crisis, right? A refugee crisis all around the world. There's because of climate change as well. Just the projected, I was reading articles about the projected refugees just due to climate crisis alone are going to increase people coming or increase the numbers at our southern border exponentially. But then we have the refugees from war, like in the Sudan. We have a bunch of people coming to the southern border from Sudan. The main countries right now are Cuba and Venezuela, and then the bordering countries that are war torn in South America. But the point is we need to invest in the countries south of here. We need to create trade and work partnerships. We need to make those countries safe so
When you
that they
say
don't have to flee.
because of the climate crisis, you're talking about because of natural disasters, things that are happening that decimate their
Yeah,
infrastructure,
and
and they
drought.
don't have the ability to rebuild, right? They don't have the
Yeah,
money or the ability to rebuild, right?
that's correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, drought. Drought is, I think, right now the biggest cause of climate crisis. Refugee status.
Well, I
But
can
yeah,
take care of that. I'm going to email my Mormon bishop and see
we're
if we
gonna
can do
be
a
climate
fast.
refugees soon. Like
Well,
this is gonna be the funny thing is that everyone from Arizona is about to be knocking on people, Utah, Colorado's doors, and being like, "We need some water because we are." If our power grid breaks here, we're all going to be
well,
we're going to be climate refugees.
did you see John Oliver did a special on like the drought in the Southwest? But they talked about those negotiations between the four corner states, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah. And they basically were taking like the the water from the Colorado River, and they wanted to split it off into the four states. So right, if you're going to split 100% four ways, then that's 25%, right? Well, then they just started being like, all right, Colorado, you get 40%, and Utah, you get 40%, and Arizona, you get 40%, and New Mexico, you get 40%. And I don't know if anybody did the math
Oh, and
right
the
there,
Navajo
but that's
nations that
160%.
was promised water in the treaty, like the largest Indian reservation, Native American reservation, and it's called Window Rock, the Navajo reservation, is supposed to be getting water from the Colorado River and was recently denied it by the Supreme Court.
Well, yeah, they shouldn't have been there, right?
Well, I mean, it was
Was that the
promised to them.
ruling? Was that Kavanaugh's ruling? You guys shouldn't have been there. I didn't like that.
I don't know. But yeah, there's no water in the Colorado River, and it's a problem for all of us.
I think about this all the time, honestly, and it's like a weird thing that we I think that we're fortunate in America that we can do this because ultimately we have so much power that when the climate crisis comes, uh, worse comes to worse, like we'll probably just invade other countries and steal their shit. But it is an interesting thing to live here in Arizona where there should definitely not be this many people. There we definitely don't have the resources for this many people, but people are here because it stays warm all year. And I think about that all the time. Like, when are you gonna know? Are you gonna know when it's time to leave Arizona? Have we passed that time? Have we passed the time when we should have been out of Arizona already? It is a scary thing to live in a part of the world like this where we are one drought away from literally millions of people being displaced.
Drought or just the power grid breaking, like Texas. I mean, we can't live in it. People can't survive without air conditioning. Like similar to people in the winters, like
Yeah.
in the north, like we can't survive here if the power grid fails. Anyways, that's a sunny conversation for another
The world's
time.
fucked, guys. We're all we're
You heard
all
it here
fucked.
first.
Enjoy it.
Do you want to talk about your post that I put at the top of the outline? Because I don't even.
That's what I was making of some content about. I'll let that. Well, I'll just let the video do it. Let's skip that one.
That's
It's
fine.
Bryce Mitchell. It's our favorite MAGA fighter that got knocked out after he said he was fighting for the Lord. And on Christmas Day, he posted a picture of him with 400 rounds of 30-06 ammo, and I'll just read it. It's unbelievable. I'm letting all my allies. I have to do it in Bryce Mitchell's voice. I'm letting all my allies know we are prepared to fight and die for our freedom, and it'd be my greatest honor to die next to all y'all patriots fighting this tyranny. The system is rigged. I'm prepared physically, mentally, and spiritually for 1776 to commence again. I do think that he is mixing up 1776 and the Civil War, uh, just just based on the fact that we
Well,
are an
that's
established
just when
country.
they are yelling about 1776, they're just talking about revolution. Like,
Yeah, no, they don't
they've
know.
been called, they're not
Yeah,
sure. They just
this
say
is
that word, those words.
this is a man from the southern states upset that liberals won't let them be bigots, and they want to fight against the liberals. This is far more Civil War than 1776. And I know there are millions of all. We have to stand together to fight this evil. Who will fight with me? Who else has no fear? And then after all of that violence that he's talking about, I love y'all and God bless. I love.
Yeah, and
There
he's
is no
just
greater
holding,
hate than
yeah,
Christian
I
love.
didn't hear if you said it, but he's just holding a giant box of ammo.
Yeah, yeah.
So it probably weighs hundreds of pounds. Like, I don't know what. Yeah. So let's go over. So this is stuff I want to talk about Trump. I mean, there's so much to talk about. It's out of control. But yesterday, the Michigan Supreme Court basically said, if you're said, hey, this isn't the court to hear this case about whether or not Trump should be on the ballot or not. Kind of just punting because it's true that we already have one court, the Colorado Supreme Court, saying he shouldn't be on the ballot. So, and we have another court, West Virginia, saying he can't be on the ballot. So essentially, when we have dueling courts, this is now a case. This is exactly what the Supreme Court is for. The Supreme Court needs to essentially make some sense of this and see if there's some sort of precedent that can be set and followed. So we
Yeah, it's
should be.
important. It's important to note that because Republicans are going to be bragging about this all day as you go through lives. They're going to say that the Michigan Supreme Court ruled the opposite of Colorado. They didn't. They chose. They just were like, we're not taking this up. This isn't the place for it. They didn't say. They didn't rule that Donald Trump didn't engage in insurrection. They're not. They're not saying that what Colorado ruled was wrong. They're saying like, we're not taking this up. We believe that it's at the Supreme Court already. It makes no sense for us to rule on this, right? Did I read that correctly?
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Okay.
yeah, and it depends also, and I didn't go and look at Michigan law, but it also like something I was just hearing like Ari Melber talk about, like every state, just remember that every state constitution is different and the laws are different for elections. And the way Colorado is kind of a unique state that was set up with the precedent set by Gorsuch. That kind of said they have the autonomy to choose who is on their ballot. And Michigan's, the wording might be different in different states, and that's why it's confusing. But the court, yeah, the basic thing is the court just said, hey, this isn't the place for this case. It's the Supreme Court.
Right.
So yeah, so we can move on from there. I want to talk about Jack Smith and his just what's up with Jack Smith and his legal filing. So the set trial date that they're trying to hit, and Jack Smith is trying to save time, right, is March 4th for the January 6th federal case. So special counsel Jack Smith has filed a motion seeking, among other things, to bar Donald Trump from arguing that he was selectively prosecuted by the Biden administration due to his status as a current opponent in the 2024 election. In this latest motion, Smith asserts that Trump should not be able to sow disinformation in the courtroom, allowing the trial to turn into a circus-like atmosphere. So here's just a little excerpt of the motion that Jack Smith filed. Through public statements, filings, and argument in hearings before the court, the defense has attempted to inject into this case partisan political attacks and irrelevant and prejudicial issues that have no place in a jury trial. Although the court can recognize these efforts for what they are and disregard them, the jury, if subjected to them, may not. The court should not permit the defendant to turn the courtroom into a forum in which he propagates irrelevant disinformation and should reject his attempt to inject politics into this proceeding to ensure that the jury remains focused on its fact-finding duty and applies the law as instructed by the court. The defendant's improper evidence and argument should be excluded. And so the motion continues by arguing for the exclusion of several possible arguments. So kind of just trying to forecast like the ridiculous arguments that Trump is trying to use to waste time and push the trial date back.
I was thinking about this too, because what Alina Habba says, that's Trump's attorney. First of all, I did like when Alina Habba said that she was gonna. It was something along the lines of, I'm gonna prosecute, or I'm gonna defend just like I did in the last one. Well, you lost the last one, Alina Habba. So I wouldn't like lean too heavily on how great of a lawyer you are, because you got smoked on the last one and you didn't even fill out your paperwork correctly. So that's a problem. But I was thinking about this from like the MAGA perspective at first, and I've evolved my opinion, and even as you speak, like Alina Habba and Republicans do have a point that if this is Trump's entire defense, that it is kind of unfair to say like you can't use the defense. But I think after reading what Jack Smith is saying, he's essentially just saying that you can use the defense that the government is targeting you if you have like evidence of the government targeting you, right? But this you can't just be like, that can't be your only defense. Your only defense can't be like, this is Joe Biden's fault. And if that's your only defense, first of all, I don't think the court's going to rule in his favor in this. Do you? I don't think he.
No.
Yeah, I mean,
No.
Jack
Think
Smith.
about.
I think they're going to allow Trump to say whatever the fuck he wants. I don't think Jack Smith's going to win this one. Look at just precedent on what they've done with Trump, the wide latitude that they've given him. If they're
Oh, nobody. Well, if you're asking that, nobody, like, that's the thing about there being a two-tier justice system. Nobody has been allowed to do more BS in a courtroom like that we ourselves would not
Right.
be allowed to do. So if
Right.
you're saying, should this be allowed? No. But has Trump been allowed to just make everything into a circus so far? Yeah. But in a normal courtroom, would that be allowed? No. I just want to read some of these examples because I wanted to make it clear. Like Jack Smith's not saying don't defend yourself. He's saying So the motion continues by arguing for exclusion. Here's some of the possible arguments that Trump's team may put forth. Among these arguments include the fact that undercover officers were present during January 6th. It's during the January 6th insurrection, that there was foreign influence leading up to and on January 6, 2021, and that the insurrection occurred due to a failure of preparation by government agencies. These arguments, according to the special counsel's team, are wholly irrelevant to the charges currently asserted against Donald Trump, and allowing such allegations into the trial would distract jurors. So what it is
Wait, they
when
also
you're
all
well, let me just finish. When
okay,
you're prosecuted for something, they're charging you with crimes and saying, here's what we are saying that you did. Now defend yourself specifically against this. What Jack Smith's saying is this can't just turn into a circus, which every trial has been, where he's not answering the charges against him because there's no defense. You know, he doesn't have a defense against what they're saying he did because he did it. So instead of that, he's just creating distractions and being like, oh, well, I'm being persecuted. And what Jack Smith is saying is he needs to defend himself against what we're actually accusing him of, not just
right.
go off on tangents about random stuff that has nothing to do with it.
And also, let's keep in mind that if he's talking about foreign influence, he's talking about the justice system turning against him, and he's talking about undercover agents. He's talking about three specific things that were happening under his watch. He was the president. You still can't blame Joe Biden for that. He was still the president when January 6th happened. This is all him. This is all stuff that he would be responsible for. So it's a weird defense, but again, we'll say it till we're blue in the face. There's two options. Either Donald Trump has absolutely no defense for any of his crimes, or he is saving his entire defense for the courtroom. But you can't say that what he's offering in public is a defense, because he's not. He's not offering any defense at all. So for these MAGAs that come in here and are like, Trump did nothing wrong, Trump's the greatest, like everybody's against him. Okay, well, just show us the evidence. You can come up and you can show us the evidence. But even David at this point is like, yeah, I know the evidence sucks, but in court it'll change.
Well, that's if David's saying that there's a secret treasure trove of evidence. I just want to be clear. Trump has never defended himself against the charges he's been accused. All he does is create distractions and yell that he's being persecuted. But he has never directly defended the charges. And in a trial, you don't just yell whatever you want. You're accused of doing something, and then you say, here's my proof I didn't do it. Okay,
Yeah,
you can't just yell random things.
Yeah, that's been another part of this Trump debacle, and not Trump debacle, excuse me, the New York debacle. When Engoron, is that how you say it? Is it Engoron?
Engoron.
Yeah, like figuring
Engoron.
out even what to do with this guy. There's not one of us would be allowed to just like shout things out in court. Not one of us would be allowed to go out and hold a press conference and say what we say right after court. And it's like, what are you going to do? And this is what Trump is doing. He's saying, like, call my bluff. I'm this popular. What are you going to do? You going to throw me in jail? And the judges have such a difficult responsibility because they have to weigh what's right, what's just, and like what's going to cause potentially a bigger problem. I don't envy any of these judges. Obviously, us on the left, we're like, treat him like everybody else. He should have the same rules that everybody else has. But the truth is, like, he's not going to. He's never going to. He has Secret Service around him. He's a former president. He has to be protected. It's a nightmare for these judges to try and navigate this. I don't know.
But I just want to make it clear that Trump should not be allowed. Like yes, has Trump been getting special treatment because he's a former president of the United States? Absolutely, he has. But in a normal trial, can you just go off on tangents and start yelling that you're a victim of persecution? And no. You're accused of something and you defend yourself against that thing of which you're accused. You don't hop on a soapbox and just say random crap. But again, this is not a normal situation. So, like Jack Smith is doing a great job, right? Keeping this, he is meeting every deadline still, despite the fact, right? The case is stayed currently. I just want to make that clear, pending a decision by first the DC Circuit Court and likely we don't know yet, if the United States Supreme Court decides to rule on the presidential immunity thing. And it's very interesting that Trump filed his presidential immunity brief or whatever defense with the district court or the DC Circuit Court, like at 2 minutes before the deadline, and said, "Oh, this is amazing. This is an amazing brief, and my presidential immunity is guaranteed," which it's not. It's the worst brief I've ever read. It's actually incoherent. There's not a legal argument. There's not an argument in it. Just made up things he wishes was true. But but in his own words, that brief is so good and he's guaranteed his presidential immunity, then why are you cheering when the Supreme Court didn't want to hear the case? Do you know what I'm saying?
That's what I was just going to say.
If your brief is a slam dunk, if you're on social media saying, "Oh, this brief is a slam dunk, here comes my presidential immunity," then why were you like, when the Supreme Court said, "Oh, we're not going to hear the case right now. We're going to let the DC Circuit Court hear it." Why are you like, "Oh, that's a win"? You know why?
Because that's what this is. It's always a PR campaign.
It's bullshit.
Every time.
Everything he says is bullshit.
And for you MAGA that are in here, it's you. The reason this keeps happening is you, because you guys will just believe anything. There's nothing you won't believe. I'll go back to Bryce Mitchell.
No, Dustin, you're not getting it. If the Supreme Court knew it was a witch hunt, they would do the opposite, and they would give him the presidential immunity that you say that he deserves. And they did the opposite. Like, you're really not getting it.
Yeah, this
it's
is
the opposite.
the argument.
You think about it.
Yeah, this is the Article 14 argument, or I mean Amendment 14, Section 3 argument that the MAGAs who like kind of are making a defense for Trump on TikTok, on YouTube, in the news. This is their actual defense, is that the president does have immunity, whether they believe it's the president has immunity while he's president or because the word president isn't included in the list of people. That's the argument. This ruling, what Trump's defense is and what Republicans' defense is they are trying to say, by the way, if they're right, the president literally can commit any crime besides treason. That's what former presidents and sitting presidents can commit any crime they want as long as that crime is not treason. Because treason is the only one that we have like a direct, like they spell it out. Even though it says high crimes and misdemeanors as well, treason is the only one that's spelled out.
Think about it. They're yelling that Joe Biden's a criminal for things that he wasn't even in office while they have.
He's immune.
I know, by their own argument, by Trump's own brief that he submitted to the Supreme Court. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Nothing these people are saying are making sense. But it's two different arguments. There's presidential immunity, saying when you're president, nothing you do is a crime, and then there's the Amendment 14
but it's not even
argument.
Yeah, but it's not even that nothing. Yeah, and this is the part that they get mixed up on. While you're president, it's true you cannot be prosecuted. It's probably true that you can't be prosecuted, but you can be removed from office and then prosecuted. So if you go through the impeachment process, you're impeached in the House, removed in the Senate, you then can be prosecuted. That's how this works. Like, we do have a system in place. If Donald Trump was still in office, this would have been an impeachment. But because he's out of office, it now falls on the Department of Justice. That's how our laws work. You're no longer protected as a former president where you can go through the House and the Senate. You now have to deal with the Department of Justice. That's why when Trump was president, they tried to impeach him rather than prosecute him. And now that he's out of office, they are prosecuting him, not impeaching him. This is clearly spelled out on how you handle a president. And that's why I think his arguments are so weak. And I don't know how a Supreme Court reading the Constitution is going to rule in his favor unless they are ruling that the president literally can do anything besides treason. Because if they rule that Section 3, because it doesn't specifically say president, means that it excludes the president, then you've got to find me another section in the Constitution or the amendments that say here's how you prosecute a former president. And since it's not in there, you would then have to conclude that you can never prosecute a former president. And that is a crazy thing to rule. I don't know how the Supreme Court could get themselves to rule that you can never prosecute a former president. If you can do that, like, we're all in, like, I'm in trouble, you're in trouble, anybody who has spoken out against MAGA is in trouble, because now retribution is legal. He can do whatever he wants to us. There are no laws. That would be the craziest ruling ever from the Supreme Court if they ruled in that direction.
Is this it, yeah, and I've heard the argument like oh, I can't even remember who I heard say this, so I shouldn't even, but it was something like, well, the executive branch shouldn't give up power or something to the judicial branch. And I was like, this doesn't even, the argument doesn't make any sense. Like the judicial branch can't check the executive power. I don't remember. I'll find the clip that
Yeah.
I was listening to
Just
and
shoot him Schoolhouse Rock to
I
let him
know.
know how the checks and balances work. Yeah, this is exactly how it works.
Let's go on to Alina Habba because this kind of just segues. So she, was doing her usual tour last night on Newsmax, talking about Jack Smith and some other ridiculous stuff that I just need you guys to hear.
I didn't know Sebastian Gorka was still alive.
Oh my gosh, he is the worst. He is very much still alive.
They have tried Sebastian Gorka everywhere, and the entirety of America has spoken. We do not want
Yeah, take
Sebastian
him
Gorka.
back,
We do not
UK.
want him on NBC, CBS, CNN, Fox News. He's been rejected by every network out there. He is one of the most unpopular humans ever to comment or commentate on politics. And so, of course, he's at Newsmax. Is it OAN or Newsmax? Which one did you say he was
He's
at?
at Newsmax.
Newsmax. There you go.
Here, listen to this.
Examine witnesses who have quote unquote government privileges. Alina, it sounds to me as if Jack Smith is running scared.
Yeah, this is called a due process violation. They do it in the form of a gag order. He should be scared. He doesn't want basically any defense being brought by the defense. It's what happened with the last trial I tried. It's what will happen with the next one I try. These judges will gag you. They will try and use his popularity and his voice as a way to work against us and the American people so that people cannot hear the truth. That whole list is the defense. That's saying you cannot put your own defense on.
Yeah.
That's like saying you can't have an expert on the Letitia James case
Wait,
or gagging
stop real
his
quick.
lawyers.
Read us and the list was what? The list is the list you're talking about. First of all,
Yeah, agent. It's what I read. It's the agent. Like it's the saying that FBI agents were undercover agents in the January 6th cloud, alleged foreign influence in 2020. Just the stuff
Wait.
that's not Trump's not being like. It's not a direct. It's not a defense to what he's
right.
accused of.
So the three things again are that there was foreign interference, that there was agents, and that what's the third one?
Well, that what does he say? Like they were unprepared.
That's right.
Unprepared. There were undercover agents in the crowd, alleged foreign influence in 2020, and cross-examination of witnesses with privilege, which that has to do, I think, with speech and debate clause.
Right.
Like there's
Right.
something in there about the speech and debate clause and protecting people like that have it or don't
Gotcha.
have it with the witness list.
So Alina Habba is
So Congress people that would
specifically
testify.
saying, like her words, not mine. This isn't an interpretation. When she says that this Jack Smith trying to stop these three things, she says that's our entire case. That's the whole case.
That's
She's
not- and that's
admitting
not a-
live in front of 87 viewers on Newsmax that their entire case revolves around you buying into a conspiracy theory that Joe Biden was in charge and running shit while Trump was president. She's laying this out to Sebastian Gorka. Well, if we can't do that, we don't have a case. That's our whole case.
But no, yeah, and it's not even an answer to the charge. That's the problem. What Trump is being charged with, he did again. Like in a case, you're accused of something, and then you say, here's my proof I didn't do that. You don't just go off on a tangent and say, I think there was FBI agents it's like lurking around in a crowd. That's not an answer to the charge against you. It's just a distraction and a time suck, right? He just wants to make this trial go as long as possible.
It's the argument that, like, if you have multiple kids or you grew up like with multiple kids in your house, Donald Trump's argument is always, but what about what they did? That's always what the argument is. That's always what all of your arguments are. There's not one of you who would come up here and defend Trump's charges and not say, what about Joe Biden? What about it would be what about somebody else? There has been, in a year and a half since these charges started coming out, there has not been a single solitary time that Donald Trump or one of his attorneys has showed up in court or at a microphone and offered a defense that wasn't whataboutism. It's the entire thing, which is why
Which
you
is
can have
not
Alina
a
Habba.
defense
Yeah.
against criminal charges.
Right.
What
Which is
about
why
what,
Alina
what
Habba
that
can
guy
be your
did?
lawyer.
Like, you don't go to court and say, but that guy did something. Like, why do I have to be here? That's literally that's not a defense. And so that's the point. But I also have to play this one other part of Alina Habba's interview that is just, I mean, the delusion going on Newsmax.
You make and because you make it look just so easy. You walk up to the insane line press and you just, you just have no podium, no teleprompter, and you just crush them. How do you make it look so easy, Alina?
Patriotism. I think it's the same thing that you suffer from, right? We love our country. And I haven't had any training. PR is not my thing. I'm a lawyer. But I'm passionate about the president getting back to business and cleaning up our country. And when you have passion for anything and you have the facts on your side, I think it's relatively easy to speak from the heart.
If you have facts on your side, why won't you ever present any of them? Why can't we get the facts that you have on your side? And Alina, the only thing you're passionate about is being Trump's next ex-wife.
Wait, hold on. Sebastian Gorka also, there's so much truth being told here. Sebastian Gorka talking about Alina Habba, who already lost the last case. She lost. Again, remember, Alina Habba is the person, Donald Trump's lawyer, who lost. We don't know what the damages are yet, but she lost. She
lost before it started.
They've already decided it was fraud because she didn't even fill out the paperwork right. And Sebastian Gorka asks her, how do you make it look so easy? Well, because she fucking sucks at it. And so it looks easy because that's how much effort she's putting into it, but she's losing. I don't know what he's talking about. Like, she's getting destroyed on every single argument when she's in front of a judge. And he's like, oh, you are just killing it,
they were
Alina.
fined $1 million. Like, you know what I mean? Trump pays like these fines, which is basically getting laughed out of court. Being told your lawsuit has no standing. Like, there's nothing worse for a lawyer. Being told you're wasting the time of the court is one of the biggest insults in the legal industry. And she's like, oh, well, I'm not a PR expert. I'm just a lawyer. Like, you're a terrible lawyer and you're terrible at marketing and PR. Like, but probably better. Like, I definitely think she should be a MAGA influencer. She's better at that, at just delusionally like saying lies out loud than lawyering.
Yeah, I liked in the video, I don't know where her screen is, but if you notice, she's like this. The screen, I don't know if the screen is 8 feet above her.
Or it's their camera, or yeah, like I don't know what they
like
kind of setup they had going on.
Well,
but
you know,
the camera
Sebastian,
was in the wrong place.
I just show up and I smile and I just do what I'm told, Sebastian, and that's how I make it look so easy.
It took me a while to figure out what was so weird about that video. I was like, what's going on? She's like,
like she's reading the answers off of the ceiling.
Yeah.
It was bizarre.
So it does look
She
like
is
that.
pretty. I agree with that, Lolo. She's pretty. We're not making
You
fun
said
of her
she's
looks.
pretty.
What's that? I'm just responding to the comments.
New Jack Smith. Okay, so that's Alina Habba. She's embarrassing, and we have so much more to move on to. Oh man. So everyone knows that I love Jessica Tarlov, who is, if you don't know the name, she's the leftist that's on Fox Entertainment and is on The Five and kind of like fights our case on Fox. I don't know how she can stand it. I don't know how she could do it, but she's out there doing the Lord's work. But she was on, what's her name? McEnany? Is that
McEnany,
is that her
yeah.
name? Yeah, she was
Kayleigh
hosting. Kayleigh was hosting Hannity last night and had Jessica on, and just, God, Jessica's great for a soundbite. You know what I mean? Just doing great work.
Right, and Jessica, I mean, some of this rhetoric, Bill Maher, you had him calling House Speaker Mike Johnson, comparing him to the main shooter. You had the Daily Beast, and I realize these aren't members of the Democrat Party per se, but the Daily Beast is certainly left-leaning, comparing House Speaker Mike Johnson to the mullahs of Iran and the Taliban. I mean, this stuff is pretty extreme.
Yeah, I mean, I happen to think that Mike Johnson's beliefs are pretty extreme and that it is dangerous to have a Speaker of the House who is perfectly happy
Not
to
mullahs of
help
Iran.
Donald Trump on
Mullahs
his
of
route to
Iran.
overturning the election. No, I don't use language like that. the only people who are terrorists are actual terrorists. And I think that you do need to be careful about that. But there is extremism on some of the left, but definitely on some of the right that has made its way to the top of the speaker's chambers. And it was in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue with Donald Trump. And you said, I don't recall Donald Trump talking like that about people on the other side, about Democrats. Go back and look at a 4th of July speech that he made. He certainly does disparage. It's not just going after Jim Acosta. It's going after people who
What
believe
language did he
in,
use
quote, leftist
specifically?
ideology, who are part of the Democratic Party. And he does see them as their enemies. And frankly, we are. We turn out in droves to vote against him. We see him
What
as a
language,
singular
though?
threat to the democracy because he tried
Jessica,
to
what
overturn
language was in
a
the 4th of
Democratic
July speech?
election. And
Okay, hold on. Now I just need to play the part where she says what the language is. I love her.
obviously, Hillary Clinton is someone who is incredibly important to the party, and I have defended her comments in that interview, talking about the fact that Democrats are so far from being in a cult on a comparative basis to Republicans. It's actually laughable, and I do really struggle to find it in my tiny liberal heart to feel terrible for Republicans when we get called things like communists, socialists, thugs, pedophiles. Donald Trump called Democrats every name in the book. It is part of the Republican playbook to demonize us and to make it seem like it is the end of the world if Democrats are in power. So I look.
Tell him, Jessica. I don't know how she gets stabbed to do her job every day, but doing the Lord's work out there. Can you believe Kayleigh McEnany? Like, wasn't she... Like, what was her job for Trump? Didn't she work for...
She was the press secretary.
Yeah, like, it's unreal that she's sitting up there saying, I've never heard Donald Trump disparage any Democrats. What are you talking about? Like, with a straight face.
I liked the part, too, where she's like...
Are you... I can't hear you.
Getting through.
Oh, okay, there you are. Say that again, because you were...
Can you hear me now?
First. Yeah.
Calls are getting through, even though I
Same
have
thing with
all of my
me.
notifications turned off.
Same thing with me, and I don't...
And it's the same number. It's this 855 number, and it's like it's a scam one where they're like, this is Venmo. Somebody stole your Venmo, or somebody sent money from your Venmo to somebody, and they just keep calling. This could just be, yeah. And maybe I'm getting what's that thing Marge keeps claiming it happens to her? They keep calling the cops on her. What do you call that again?
Swatted.
Swatted. Yeah, maybe I'm being swatted.
Well,
what
were you
was your
saying?
question? Sorry, I got distracted.
No, you
by
were
that.
saying something about Jessica. I was saying it's unbelievable that the press secretary for Donald Trump is sitting here on Fox News last night trying to say, I've never heard Donald Trump say anything bad about a Democrat.
Oh, that's what I was saying. So the two examples that McEnany used were like an op-ed piece from what was it? Maybe the Post. I don't even remember what it was, from some newspaper, and Bill Maher. That was her proof that what Democrats are saying against Republicans is unfair. You're talking about unelected people sharing their opinion, and you're like, this is what all Democrats think. Like, this is what all the Democrats are saying. And that's the beauty of Fox News. It doesn't matter. They have done such a good job of painting that there is the Trump people, there's MAGA or Republicans, and then everybody else, anybody who criticizes them, is just saying exactly what the left all believes. And those are your two sources. Oh, excuse me. Those are your sources of this persecution to the left, is Bill Maher and some op-ed piece where they're talking about Mike Johnson. And I love how Jessica covers it. She's like, yeah, I also think what Mike Johnson said is scary. I also think that he's dangerous. And then she just keeps moving on. She doesn't allow Fox to try and pinpoint her and defend Bill Maher and some op-ed piece. She's just like, no, I'm going to skip past that, and I'm going to tell you the truth. Like,
you
I'm
know
gonna
why
tell you
that
what
is?
I really think. She's so good at it.
Well, you know why she's gotten good at it and is getting better every day? It's because she has to sit in a chair in between Judge Janine, Tipsy Judge Janine, and Jesse. I didn't take my ADHD medication waters. And so it's like she has learned to just press through no matter what crazy things are being yelled at her. I remember when she first started this, and I was like, there's no way she's going to survive this. And if anything, she is thriving. Like, she is carving out a place there, I'm so impressed by her.
Yeah, she's really good. Big fan.
And someone asked, yeah, we are taking guests. Guys, tap the screen. Let's get to 70K. We would love to talk to some Republicans, talk about why you're voting for Donald Trump. You can tell us your thoughts and feelings about the great replacement theory, the border. I mean, there's so many things going on. We would love to hear your opinions. Tap the screen, share the live with your favorite or least favorite Republican, or push the copy link button. That also counts as sharing so we can get to the For You page.
Sharing is caring.
My God.
It is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that. Sharing is caring. Okay, so moving on. Let's talk about Nikki Haley, because Nikki Haley, God, she's doing so well. She's she's peeling off percentage points from Donald Trump in New Hampshire, right? Doing a good job getting the money of corporations and the establishment, right? Getting the signals from the dark money Republicans. The billionaires are backing Nikki now because Ron can't control his facial muscles. And then last night, Nikki.
Before you play this, what you said is right. Nikki Haley's doing a good job. She's got in with the corporate Republicans, the establishment Republicans. She's starting to win over like more moderate Republicans. She's doing a great job. But I would say, I was thinking this yesterday and for the last couple weeks, I just keep thinking, when is Nikki Haley, she's got to start cultivating the racists as well. She's got to start getting the racist vote. So when is Nikki Haley going to make a little tweak to her messaging to make sure she appeals to racists too? And I haven't seen what you're about to talk about, but that's just a random thought I had before you play this clip.
Shut up. Okay. So this is Nikki Haley was at a town hall last night. I'm just going to preface this because I think we'll be able to hear the man asking the questions, but she basically is asked by a audience member at the town hall a softball question, just lobbed it up there. What was the cause of the Civil War? And I just have never seen someone fail more spectacularly. Something that could have been so simple and just brushed by just turned into an absolute epic fail.
What was the cause of the United States Civil War?
Well, don't come with an easy question or anything. I mean, I think the cause of the Civil War was basically how...
So yeah, if you didn't hear what she said, don't come with an easy question. So immediately to her, this is supposed to be the moderate Republican candidate. Picture that. This is the least racist of them, people. This is the most liberal candidate that the Republicans have. And immediately just goes silent, gets this look on her face, like this is going to be the worst moment of her life.
If you asked that question if you went out on the streets, anywhere in America, and you're just like, hey, we're just asking one question, and you talked to 1,000 people, and you were like, you had your little cell phone. What caused the Civil War? Slavery. Slavery. Every one of them. Every single person would say slavery. Every one of them. And Nikki's like, God damn it. You had to ask the tough one.
Now
so
everyone's
here's my
know.
answer after I wait awkwardly for 20 seconds and then tell you it's a tough question.
And be like, why did you give me such a hard question? It's only, it's...
government was going to run. The freedoms and what people could and couldn't do. What do you think the cause of the Civil War was?
And then deflects and asks, this is a presidential candidate who is now says freedoms and what people could and couldn't do. If you don't understand that rhetoric, that is Jefferson Davis rhetoric.
Yeah.
What was the Confederacy's PR and marketing campaign? They were they're trying to tell us what we can and can't do. This is about freedom. They tried to make this. That's what the Confederacy was yelling. That was their PR campaign. You can't take away our freedom to enslave other humans. They just left out the enslave other humans part.
Right. In a way, it is about freedoms, but about specifically, can you own people and call that a state's right? That's specifically what it was about. It wasn't about just can the federal government tell the states what to do all the time? No, that's not what it was about. Was it about making new rules about when the state or the federal government can and cannot intervene with the state? No, that's not what it was about. It was specifically about certain states believing they could own people and keep them as slaves. That was the specific right they were talking about. Can the federal government tell us that we can't own slaves? There was nothing generic about it. The rulings that have come after the Civil War had nothing to do with anything other than, can you own slaves? It was not. This was not a states' rights issue, plural. It was state right issue, the right to own people as slaves. It was a specific state right.
Yeah, Nikki is embarrassing. Let's continue. More silence.
I'm sorry?
So he says, because she says, well, why don't you tell me? So she turns the question around. The person running for president now is asking the person who asked her the question what the Civil War was about. And his response is, I'm not running for president. You are.
I mean, I think it always comes down to the role of government.
And now he's saying, because I figured you probably couldn't hear this. He's saying now.
The fundamental question that needed to be asked here by Nikki Haley, and look, we've got to have an honest and open conversation about it. Should the role of government be allowed to tell us whether or not we can own other human beings as property? And look, you got to come together. There's good arguments on both sides, and we got to figure this out because it's tricky. It's tricky on whether or not we believe the federal government should be allowed to say, yes, you can own people, or no, you can own people as slaves. That's tricky. I appreciate Nikki Haley's willingness to be so nuanced on this very delicate and difficult conversation that we're having on whether or not you can own people as slaves based solely on their skin color. I appreciate Nikki Haley's nuance here 150 years later, or however many years it's been since the Civil War. Thanks,
I think the worst
Thanks,
part
Nikki.
about it is her silence is like just the way you could see, and it's dead silent in that room, and people are just like, what are you doing, lady? And she just is sinking and can't do it. She just can't say, hey, there was a disagreement in this country about slavery.
And let's
the
be honest,
1800s.
Let's be very fucking honest about why she answered. I don't want to sit here and say Nikki Haley is dumb or Nikki Haley is racist. It's not, that's not the answer. The answer is you can't win a general election as a Republican. You can't win the primary for president unless you have the support of the racists. There are so many racists in the GOP that you can't just come out and say the South was wrong. You can't say it. You have to placate the racists. That's why she's doing this. I honestly doubt it has anything to do with her personal beliefs. It has everything to do with politics and knowing.
We can't know that.
That's what I said. I doubt, but it has everything to do with politics. She needs the racist vote. All the racists are with Trump right now. She's got to start picking off the racists if she wants to beat Trump.
Yeah. So, and what you can't really hear, because I started playing and I noticed, I was worried you can't hear it. What the guy says at the very end is he says, it's 2023 and I am shocked that you would answer that question and the word slavery wouldn't be in the answer.
Yeah, that was a good point. Not only did she not just say slavery, like that was the whole answer, she didn't even bring it up.
She would not say the word
It wasn't even part of the answer.
Yeah. She wouldn't say the word specifically and was terrified of, and it's so awkward. Listen.
What do you want me to say about slavery?
He said, you wouldn't mention the word slavery. And she again, what would you want me to say about slavery? Like, lady, how about you have an honest, not
what I would like you to say is
conversation about what caused the Civil War.
Slavery was the reason we fought a civil war, you goddamn potato. That's what I would like you to say, but you're not going to say that. I would like you to just acknowledge that it was at least part of the war. You didn't even acknowledge it's part of the war. You just didn't even bring it up. That's what I'd like you to say, Nikki.
Yeah, and he says, you've answered my question. Thank you. And she just goes, next question.
No,
like,
it's not.
It's absolutely unbelievable that all she had to do is like, yeah, there was a disagreement in this country over slavery. If you in the 1800s, and if people should be able to own other human beings and enslave them.
Now let's get to like her response. Let's be fair to Nikki Haley and let's figure out how she spins this. Well, two things on this track. I mean, of course, the Civil War is about slavery. We know that. That's the easy part of it. It seemed difficult. What I was saying was, what does it mean to us today? What it means to us today. And let's remember, what was the question
we have
exactly?
it. I have the clip if you want to hear it.
Okay,
of her.
but let's just do this. Let's go back. The question exactly was, what was the cause of the Civil War? So why she's answering what it means to us today, I don't know why. They asked what caused the Civil War. What was the Civil War about? Not how can you apply the lessons from the Civil War to us today? She's lying. Our goal is to make sure, no, we never go back to the stain of slavery.
Yeah,
And
here's
then
the clip.
then she blamed later on, going on saying it was definitely a Democrat plant. That's why I said, what does it mean to you? And if you notice, he didn't answer anything. The same reason he didn't tell the reporters what his name was. Even if that was a Democrat plant, let's pretend Joe Biden was like, hey, go fuck with Nikki Haley and make her look stupid. And this guy came up with, I've got exactly the right question. I'm going to ask her what caused the Civil War, because that's going to fuck up Nikki Haley. Even if this is a Democrat plant, the question was, what caused the Civil War? If you can't answer that question, then Democrat plants are the last of your concerns.
That's not even a Democrat plan. I mean, like, even if, and it's Democratic. It's not Democrat. The adjective is Democratic. I can't stand it anymore. Stop saying that. It's not Democrat plan. It's Democratic plan. Like, the adjective for Democrat is Democratic. But in any case, like, sorry, that's the second
But we don't
grade.
say that because then you're going to confuse people, because they're going to be like, wait, we like democratic processes. And
But
so
that's
you'd have to say
why the
Democrat.
Republicans say it. But the correct way to say it is Democratic plant. Like, as J.B. Raskin gave a grammar lesson to everyone on the House floor, which is one of my favorite speeches from him ever. Like, it does it. You just aren't using the correct part of speech when you say that. So here's the interesting thing about this. Or let me just play. I just have the first part of the clip that I thought was interesting.
Was about slavery. We know that. That's the easy part of it. What I was saying was, what does it mean?
She says, the Civil War was about slavery. We know that. That's the easy part of it. If that was the easy part of it, Nikki, then why didn't you say it? Like, that's the point that everyone's asking you, Nikki, is it was the easy part of it. You are exactly correct. And the easy part, you chose at all costs to not say the one word that would have got you out of the whole thing. Make it make sense.
To us today. What it means to us today is about freedom. That's what that was all about. It was about individual freedom. It was about economic freedom. It was about individual rights. Our goal is to make sure, no, we never go back to the stain of slavery, but what's the lesson in all of that?
Did she say that? Do you know what I'm saying?
What is the lesson in all
Hey, Nikki,
what are we
that would've-
supposed to learn from that?
Yeah, exactly. Apparently nothing. Nikki's trying to hide it. I mean, this is exactly what's happening with erasing or changing AP African American history, making it about, during slavery, the slaves learned skills and trades that helped them be more prosperous later. This is that same BS of not acknowledging history and wanting to acknowledge history.
Yeah. That's right. They learned all these traits. And by the way, that's definitely why they were being taught those different skills. They were being taught those skills because the slave owners knew this slavery thing's going to come to an end, and we want our slaves to be prepared to go out into the world and contribute to society. That's what they were thinking. They weren't thinking, hey, if we teach people new things, then we can use their labor to amass more wealth. That's not what they were thinking. It was definitely foresight into the future, that they wanted to make sure that their slaves were the most prepared slaves when they went out into the world.
That was so kind.
Yeah,
that was so kind and thoughtful of them.
Correct.
To just prepare people for this cold, hard world.
Yeah. God bless Dixie.
So this happened last night, and a while back I said one of my favorite new Twitter accounts or X accounts, whatever, is the Biden Harris HQ account, where it's just like a troll account, like it's like Dark Brandon, like those red eyes, like him just sort of trolling MAGA and all the ridiculous things being said all day long. It's just clips. So that account posted this video. And then later, like an hour after that, Dark Brandon himself from his own account posts like answers and basically trolls Nikki Haley, which is the best part, I think, about Dark Brandon is that he's active on Twitter and trolling people.
Yeah,
And
probably not. It might be someone else. Real quick, World, I think Peace World, you're in the guest request. Are you opposition? I know our mods have been asking, but we're just bringing up opposition today. So if you could, in the chat, respond to Jen if you're opposition. She's the one that's controlling the box. So we don't bring anybody up until Jen has figured out if they're opposition, and then she'll bring them up. So make sure for anybody who's in the box, if Jen is adding you,
says yes.
just respond. Okay, great. Jen, if you want to bring them up, go ahead.
And well, let me finish. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and so the point is, and Joe Biden responded last night and said it was about slavery. So at least we have a president of the United States who took junior high history and can correctly acknowledge the sins of our American historic past. And then finally, here's the best part about this, like just to wrap up Nikki Haley's horrible like last 12 hours is this morning. So now there's a clip that is now circulating the internet from 2010. Like it just got posted this morning. Turns out this isn't Nikki Haley's first time refusing to say the word slavery.
This
right?
I did not know.
Oh,
Wait,
yeah, I
what?
know. Surprise.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
No, I honestly didn't know this. I'm
I
not
know.
surprised, but I didn't know.
tell you because I just wanted. You're gonna love this though. No. So this is actually her par for the course Jefferson Davis answer. So this answers the question of like, was she having a bad night or has she practiced this before? Like, no, this is very intentional. Listen to this. It's mind blowing. Oh,
What's your belief about the reason the Civil War was fought?
Okay, so what the question was, because it's hard to hear that guy. He said, "What's your belief about the reason the Civil War was fought?"
I mean, again, I think that as we look in government, as we watch government, you have different sides. And I think that you see passions on different sides. And I don't think anyone does anything out of hate. I think what they do is they do things out of tradition and out of beliefs of what they believe is right.
She said there's different sides of government. People are on different sides, and no one's doing anything about hate, out of hate. They're doing it out of tradition. So she's now
Tradition
again still has
of-
not said the word slavery for the cause of the Civil War, but is saying it's the tradition. It was just tradition.
Well, in that
I
case,
think you
yeah.
had one side of the Civil War that was fighting for tradition, and I think you had another side of the Civil War that was fighting for change.
She said, I think you had one side of the Civil War that was fighting for tradition and another side that was fighting for change. Tradition of enslaving human beings. But why not just say it, Nikki?
At the end of the day, what I think we need to remember is that, you know, everyone is supposed to have their rights. Everyone's supposed to be free. Everyone's supposed to have the same freedoms as anyone else. So
She said, everyone's supposed to have their rights. Everyone's supposed to be free. Everyone's supposed to have the same freedoms as everyone else. Again, still has not said the
Yeah.
word slavery.
I think it was tradition versus change is the way I see it.
Yeah, that's
She
what
said,
it
I
was.
think it's tradition versus change is the way I see it.
Yeah.
On individual rights and liberty of people.
On individual
even gave her
rights
that.
and liberty of people. Never says the word slavery. This is something she has practiced. This is a tightrope walk that Nikki Haley is very familiar with. This was not a one-off situation where she made a mistake. She's
That's
practiced this since
amazing.
2010.
Okay, so that's probably why the question was asked. Somebody knew that existed. They wanted to see if they were going to fix it. Or they wanted to see if she was going to fix that statement. Not. Welcome, Peace World. I assume it's Peace World. Is that right? Or World Peace?
Yeah, world peace.
Welcome. What's up?
Hi. Yeah, I just thought you guys had some interesting talking points. And
Thank you.
I think that, like, specifically for Nikki, I would say that that she's avoiding that word because that word brings controversy. And I think that as a politician, she's very smart for not using that word because obviously politically,
What do you mean
yeah,
controversy? What controversy would that word bring?
yeah, like, obviously, like, she has to appeal to a wide audience, right? Like, she wants as many votes as she could get.
And by
And
wide, you
so,
mean, of course, racists also, right?
exactly, yes, racist, right? So, obviously, if she were to use the word slavery, that's a buzzword, right? Slavery, racism, black, white, right? All of those are buzzwords, especially for racist people, right? And so when it comes down to racist people, right, if she keeps the way that she kept it so general, that allows her to get more of these racist people's votes. The more votes, the better. It doesn't matter where the votes are coming from at the end of the day, right? That's how, like, if you think about it, right, when Obama was running, at first he was completely against LGBTQ. But then at some point throughout his campaign, his people realized, oh my gosh, we need the gay vote. And if we don't get the gay vote, then we're gonna lose. So then you see Obama rebrand his whole campaign to LGBTQIA plus, right? We see it happen all the time. So I think focusing on Nikki, it's
Yeah,
valid
so
in the
but
sense of like, yeah,
In Obama's case, his move was towards openness. His move was towards acceptance. Those type of changes should be celebrated. What Nikki is doing is Nikki is going backwards to the Civil War and rewriting history to appease the racists. Our criticism of Nikki Haley is not that she's the first politician to be careful with her word or have messaging that comes out in a specific way. Like, we know that. Our criticism of Nikki Haley is that she doesn't have the courage to stand up to racists. That's the criticism. The criticism is she will not stand against racism and racists.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like, we know that
She
politics
probably
play
is the
politics.
least racist. Yeah, just to be clear, I do think probably Nikki Haley is the least racist candidate. I mean, when you think about the rhetoric that they've all said, right?
Hmm.
We've had much scarier rhetoric. She probably is the most liberal, which is sad because she kind of shot herself. What I think is if she had just addressed it, right, instead of running away from it, if she had just said, hey, slavery is. There was a disagreement in the 1800s about whether or not people should own other people and just moved on because
Yeah.
was she saying her position on she like what I'm saying is he presented the reason why I say that question was a softball is because the guy wasn't trying to get you and get her to take a position even on it. It was just to me as a history history major, a former or history teacher, like he was just asking a trivia question. Do you know the main cause of the Civil War? Can you say it? And she couldn't say it. And in my mind, she almost made it worse. She told on herself.
So you think that she truly just didn't know?
Oh, no, no, no. I do think she knew. And that's what that clip I just played from 2010 proved. This is a practice response because now we have the clip that they posted from 2010 of her doing the same
Right.
thing. She's practiced her response of sort of saying something without clearly saying, for someone along the way, some PR person has coached her to not say the word slavery. I don't know.
Here's my thing,
She's
right?
from
If
where she
I
from,
was
South
running
Carolina.
Republican, like if I was on the Republican ballot, I probably would have answered it in the same way that she did, probably a little more intelligently. Um, I
Wait,
probably
why would you answer it that way? Why wouldn't you just say slavery?
right, because obviously like I already said, right? I think that slavery is a buzzword, and especially if you're running on a
A
Republican
buzzword to
ticket,
who?
to racists, right?
Okay,
That
so
they
why wouldn't you? So why would you be afraid to say the word slavery? Like, would you be
That's what
afraid
I'm
to upset
saying
the
though. Like,
racists?
wait, like I'm saying if I was running on the Republican ballot, right, and I know that majority of my votes are going to come from racists, I'm not going to use a word that's going to trigger them and make them question whether or not they want to vote for me or not. And I'm not saying that it's right. I'm just saying logically, right? If you are in a party where majority of your votes is coming from racist individuals, then you're probably not going to want to upset those racist individuals.
Yeah, that's what we're saying too. We're saying the same thing. We know why she did it.
Okay,
We're not
good. Yeah.
confused as to why she did this. We know why she did it. The question is like, why do the people that support her and the people that support the Republican Party, like, why doesn't this bother them? Why don't they care that they have to be racist in order to win?
I'm
or
gonna be
at
so
the very
honest right
least
now, right?
appease racists to win.
Because
You
this
cannot win
comes
the Republican
down
Party without appeasing racists. You can't do it.
right. So this automatically leads back to your main question up there. Why would you vote MAGA, right? So I just want to give you very quick background in terms of where I stand on this. I am a person of color, number one. I experience oppression, discrimination, all of these things on a daily basis, but I don't allow these things to hold me back from reaching the point that I want to, my goals, and reaching the life that I want to live, right? That's number one. Number two is that
Well, hold on. Can we stop you right there? Because look, you can live your life that way all you want, but if you are wrongfully accused of a crime by a racist set of police officers in a racist town, you might wind up imprisoned for your entire life. It doesn't do a goddamn thing that you had a good attitude about it, or that you decided early on you wouldn't let it affect you. That's the point with systemic oppression, is that
right.
no
I'm
matter
not
your
saying that
no
does not
matter, and you've said it
exist.
yourself, like you've been targeted that way. Right?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I appreciate that attitude, but I think that oftentimes that attitude coming from the right is basically saying, like, we'll just ignore the oppression and hope that it doesn't come and get us, and we'll move on, and we'll just only focus on ourselves, and we won't focus on fixing this actual system.
I think that what's more so happening is I feel like the left, they are trying to they're trying to force this ideology onto people of color, that the
What
reason
ideology?
why we are living such shitty lives and the reason why we can't elevate is because white people are holding us down and there's nothing
Who
we can
says
do
that? Tell
about
me
it.
who said that the reason that you're living this life is because white people are holding you down.
Yeah, so like I'm obviously summarizing it, right? They're never
Right,
gonna
but you're
come out and
summarizing
say
it
it the way that
super
I'm saying
unfairly.
it.
Yeah, but
But
what you're doing is you're taking the fact that systemic oppression exists, which we all know exists, and you're changing it, and you're changing the wording specifically, and this is what Republicans do. You guys are the ones that are messaging. We're saying
wait.
things that are
I
true.
want to be very clear right here. I'm not a Republican.
Hold on. Systemic oppression exists, and you're changing what we're saying, that the only reason that you're not successful is white people are holding you down. I've never heard anybody on the left say to people of color that the reason that you're not successful is because white people are holding you down.
Okay, so first and foremost, right, saying, oh, like when it comes down to all of these systems of oppression, right? Like the main thing that the left is saying is like, oh, it's because of white privilege, it's because of whiteness that you're in the
Yeah, no, that's
circumstances that
not the
you're
main thing
in.
we're saying. Stop framing what we're saying incorrectly. This is where I have a problem with what you're saying. I don't think you know what the left is saying. You just said the same thing
Wait.
over
I
again.
I literally used to be the left, right? I'm not a Republican. I
Well, who's
don't
saying it
identify
then?
with either party anymore. But yes, like do you like as a person of color and being and having once been a Democrat, yeah, like literally I used to blame white people for every little thing when it came down to the shit that people of color experience. And still I still do hold on to some of these ideologies in the sense of, yeah, white privilege is a real thing and that significantly contributed to a lot of the shit that people to a lot of the circumstances that people of color are under today, to a lot of the oppression that we experience. White privilege is running rampant around the world, right? There's not a single place that white people can't go in this world and not feel safe and not be okay. So yes, whiteness is the issue at the end of the day. Like we're not gonna like act as though it's not. Whiteness is the main issue when it comes down to the circumstances that black and brown people are under right now. And
Colorism, yeah.
it started with colonization. But what I'm trying to say is this, right? Um, the reason why I'm going to vote MAGA is because the Democratic Party, they significantly rely on lying to black and brown people and keeping them in a victim mentality state
What do
of
you mean?
mind,
Lying
number
about
one.
what? Lying about what?
Yeah, they try to make it seem as though the
Not
Republican
make it
Party.
seem, because make it seem is your interpretation. What are they specifically
Yeah,
lying about?
I feel as though, right, this is my opinion. I feel as though they're trying to make it seem as though they're trying to paint the Republican Party as the reason of why they're in the circumstances that they're in. Why black and brown people and low and communities who are low income are in those situations because of the Republican Party.
Do you think it would be fair to say that in the last, let's say, 100 years ish, that maybe let's go lower, let's say 50 years, the last 50 years, that it's mostly been the Republicans who oppose any sort of progress for underserved communities, that they're usually the ones that are holding up funding or new programs for underserved, specifically like communities of color?
Um, yes,
Okay,
and
so
do you want to?
isn't that a fair criticism then?
I think, well, check this out. This is what I believe is happening, right? What I believe is happening is conquer and divide, right? I believe that a lot of these Democratic senators and House representatives and congressmen and congresswomen alongside Republicans, right? I think that they all create this fake controversy. They
What
create
fake
this.
we just
I
agreed it was
wait, I'm
real.
not done. I'm not done. I feel like they create this fake stage where they make it seem as though they're in conflict with each other and all of these things, but in reality, they are all laying in bed together.
Yeah, you're
They're
just
all sleeping in the same
literally
beds.
nothing you just said is factual. These are all your feelings, and what I'm trying to do is get you
It's
to
not.
explain to me.
If
No,
you follow the
wait,
money,
hold on, real quick. You just said they're all lying in bed together.
yes.
Obviously, that's not a fact.
Think
Obviously,
okay.
that's not a fact. And you
Let's
started
follow
every
the money
sentence
real quick.
with "I
Let's
feel."
follow
So
the money real quick.
hold on. I'm not asking. I'm just asking you for specific examples. That's what I'm asking for. I don't really care about like your feelings of what you think people are doing or what you think people are thinking. Those types of conversations get us nowhere. I'd like to know what caused you to think that. What specific examples led you to a place now where you believe that?
Yeah. So, right. So here's the thing. These people make $180,000 a year on average, right? However, when it comes down to their net worth, we see that most of them are worth over $20 million, right?
That's not true. That's
Yes,
you made that stat up. The average net worth of people in Congress is not 20 million. That's so stupid.
I'm saying we have a lot of well-known people, right, who make
Okay.
up who we have a lot of senators and congressmen who are worth way more millions, right? They're worth who are worth millions of dollars
Okay,
when
but
their
what? Hold
salaries
on,
don't
but I
add
don't
up
care.
to that.
Hold on. But I'm asking you. I just asked you for specific examples of things or policies that Democrats did that make you believe that they're just pandering. And now you're talking to me about how much money people make.
No, oh my goodness. Okay, so the original thing that I said was that they were lying in bed together, right? My reasoning behind that, right, is
I didn't.
because
No, no. I'm not asking. I didn't ask you that question. Stop. Like, do I need to? The question is, what specific examples can you point me to that led you to this belief?
I'm trying to answer
But
that.
you're
You
not
keep
giving
cutting
me
me
any
off.
specific examples. You keep
You
just
keep
saying
cutting
things
me
that you
off.
feel. Yeah, because you're taking a long goddamn time, and just give me some specific examples.
Yes, I'm trying to give you those examples. Earlier, you had just mentioned, oh, well, who's the one who's holding back most of the funding and all of these things, right?
Yeah, I
Right, you
asked you if
asked
you
that, right?
believed that Republicans had been the ones that were opposed to funding and programs that promote equality. Yeah, and we agreed on
Okay,
that.
yes, exactly, right? So again, like that's like the controversy the controversy centered around that between Democrats and Republicans keeps the whole government relevant, right? Because on one end, you have people who are saying, "Oh no, we do not need these resources, etc." And then on the other end, you're saying, "No, we need these resources." And so what's happening is that you have one party that's appealing to people of color, low-income people of color. You have another party that's appealing to rich people, right? Rich people and racists.
And
And
you want to
so,
vote for the rich people and racists.
oh my gosh. Okay, you know what?
That's what you said,
It's
brother. You don't get 20 fucking minutes to tell a story. Okay, I just let you go on for 2 minutes, and what you said is that they're all shitty, but one side wants to do things that they think will promote equality, and the other side is full of racist and rich people, and they speak to the racists and the rich people. So therefore, myself, a person of color, is going to vote for the people who are speaking to the racists and the rich people.
Okay, see, so
that's
what
you said.
You jumped to that conclusion,
You
right?
said you
I
were
never
voting
said
Republican, and you just said that.
I never said that was my reasoning of why.
Okay, what's your reasoning?
Okay, yeah. So we're gonna erase everything that was just said so that we can jump to my main reason. The
Terrific.
reason why I'm not going to be voting Democrat, at least, is because Democrats have promised people of color so many things. They promised black and brown people so many things. Black people
Like what?
have never received
Specifics,
black
my
people,
friend. Specifics.
I'm trying to, but you keep
Well, you're not.
interrupting.
I've been asking for
You
specifics
asked
for
what my
5
reasoning
minutes.
is, and I'm giving
So
it.
start
If you
coming
don't
up with
wanna
some
listen, then
specifics,
just say that.
please. Please just start saying specific things.
Yes.
Thank you.
Black people have not received reparations. However, throughout
Why?
Joe Biden,
Wait, why?
why? Because
Yeah.
we live in racist America. That's why.
Yeah. Who's opposing reparations?
Yeah.
The
Literally.
Republican. The answer, but if you want your reparations, you would then start. You need to start electing progressive, democratic socialists that support. There are people,
it's not gonna
but I'm
work.
telling you, there are people in Congress who support that.
We had
and you would be
Obama
trying
for
to.
8
You should be
years.
trying to elect
We
democratic
had
socialists
Obama
and
for 8 years,
progressives.
and
No, but
he
I'm
didn't
I'm
do a
just telling
single
you that's a
thing for
fact.
black
The people
people.
opposing that are the people that you are now telling us that you are voting for. So, like, if that's
We
the
had
reason,
Obama for 8
but you're
years.
saying you listed reparations as a reason the Democrats have let you down. But there are
That's
actual,
one- that's
the
one of
only
many.
people who have ever suggested financial reparations as an option for the African American community have been Democratic, Socialist, and progressive candidates.
And still, we have still seen nothing.
But that's
Notice how
true.
our
But I'm
government-
saying
our
that doesn't
government
mean you
has
give
paid
your
out
vote to the
every
Republicans.
single-
I'm just saying that argument
Our
collapses
government,
on itself.
right? Our government has paid out every single racially disadvantaged group reparations. Jewish people have received money.
Absolutely.
Asian
Native
people have received
Americans.
money.
I am with you. I'm part Native
Americans have
American.
received money.
I
They
understand.
do not give a fuck about black
Listen,
people.
my father is half African American and half Native American. He's part of the Yaqui tribe. I understand. I totally understand what you're saying. You are absolutely right. And that argument has to do with, when was slavery? There's many. I've heard the Republican argument against reparations. It's not, what I'm trying to say is it's not the Democrats, or you have a higher percentage chance of getting some sort of justice from the left. I am in agreement with you that when you say you're let down by both sides, I totally understand that sentiment. I wholeheartedly understand what you are expressing. But the reality is, like, a vote for the Republicans is actually to conserve, right, racism. When the Constitution was made, we were talking about yesterday, the only people that had a vote that were recognized by the Constitution was white male landowners. And since those days, they've been slowly having to give up their power and equal rights to different minority groups, and they've been dragging their heels. And that's where the name conservative comes from. They are trying to conserve the past. They don't want change. They don't want us to have equal rights, right? Women, minorities, the LGBTQ, we're seeing it every day. That is happening. It's in their name. They want to conserve and stop change from happening, stop progress from happening. So just as a minority, as also pansexual, bisexual, I just don't understand the vote personally.
So, yeah, so
but
I
do I
would say
understand
this,
being
right?
let down by both sides? Sure, absolutely.
I would say that ultimately, I think that the letdowns on the left have been so disrespectful to a point where, and also I used to be a 100% social justice warrior. I used to be at those protests. I used to be an activist, all of these things, right? And ultimately, there was nothing anyone could tell me about any Republican representative that was good, right? I always viewed them from a very negative light, and there was nothing good that could ever come from them. In 2020, that was the year where I took a huge shift. Once Epstein Gates came out, once they started talking about the flight logs, when Trump said And then I had to start and I did not understand why they hated Trump so much. All I knew was that this was an evil man, right? Because that's what my party was saying, right? So when I took a step back in 2020 and went back to the 2016 election and started watching all of the different debates, he kept mentioning, she should be in jail. Look at her emails. Look at her emails. Look at her emails. Constantly, right?
Yeah, her emails, they did look at her emails, and it turns out that she didn't commit a crime other than housing emails that were classified that she shouldn't have. And we had a precedent for that, and that precedent is essentially that you lose your ability to get classified information and you get a fine. That was looked into, and that's what they found out. But what Donald Trump was saying was lock her up, that she committed treason. She didn't do that. You're now going back to things he lied about. You're going back to things he lied about as your justification for voting for him now?
No, what he was doing was he was exposing the elites.
He didn't expose that. No, he didn't expose anything.
The sick
he lied.
Things that they did behind closed doors.
Who did he expose?
And their pizza parties.
Wait, who did he expose? Oh my God, you're a Pizzagate guy?
No, I'm not talking about Pizzagate.
Oh, you're down the alt-right pipeline. He's down the alt-right pipeline.
You fell down the alt-right pipeline.
And you have to be blind.
Throw you a rope, and we're gonna pull you back out of there.
What I'm talking about. We all know what they're doing.
No, brother. Let me be real.
We all know what they're doing behind closed doors.
Brother, hold on. Let me be real fucking honest with you. The Pizzagate thing, like all these things that you felt, these alt-right pipeline things, fine. If you fell for them when they first came up, I could get it. They were kind of compelling, but investigations have been done into all of this. None of it is true, dude.
Yes,
none of it. The pizza thing. There's not even a basement there.
They went in.
A guy went in. A guy just like you went in.
And they mentioned
a guy went. I'm talking. It's not your turn. A guy just like you with your beliefs went into Comet Pizza and he had a weapon and he forced them to show him around so he could go save those kids. Turns out there was no trafficking ring at Comet Pizza. There wasn't even a basement at Comet Pizza. None of that was real, dude. This is just a place where people actually used to go and meet and talk about politics, and a bunch of people with too much time on their hands made up a fake code in these emails pretending that what Hillary Clinton and Anthony Weiner were doing were trafficking children. And if Donald Trump exposed that, then what the fuck was he doing for 4 years as president when he didn't prosecute? When he didn't declassify? He did nothing, dude. Why do you do anything? I'm still talking. I'm still talking. He didn't do anything.
Yes, he did. That's why it came to light.
What did he do?
Well, that is exactly why Epstein
was
advocating for the. If you look at
he found out about this stuff the same way you did on the internet.
If you look at
hold on. He didn't expose this. He was just the only one
dumb
enough to say it on a debate stage. He didn't expose it. It had been going around on 4chan for years, months, years. Ever since those emails came out, these 4chan conspiracy theories came out. He was repeating shit that just random people were writing on the internet. He didn't expose anything. And again, let me just ask you the question again. If he exposed all this, then why, when he was president, didn't he do anything to Anthony Weiner, to Hillary Clinton, to Barack Obama? Why didn't he investigate any of them?
Because those individuals are high-ranking occultists.
Higher than the president? He was the president. He controlled the Department of Justice.
Do you not realize that he did not become president? He became president on accident. They underestimated how popular.
I don't care about Hillary, that. No, I need you to answer this question.
Was supposed to be president.
So are you saying that he just
Hillary was supposed to be president and none of this was supposed to come to light?
Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that Hillary was the one who was supposed to become president, right? But they underestimated Donald Trump's.
What do you mean she was supposed to be president?
Yes, Hillary was supposed to be president.
What does that mean?
Yeah, so let's be for fucking real, right?
Our votes, for the love of God.
That's what we're asking. You haven't said one true thing.
Wait, what was that again?
Yeah, our votes really don't matter.
Why?
Because it's the Electoral College's vote that's going to matter, not
Okay,
ours.
cool. And who votes for and the Electoral College, how do they decide who they're voting for?
What do you mean?
Our votes matter. We're in Arizona. Are you Canadian? There's a rumor going around the comments that you're Canadian, telling us
I'm
you're
a
voting
dual
for
citizen of Canada and the United States.
Okay.
People are stupid.
So let me
Just
tell you
ignore
how,
them.
I don't know if you know how this works, but when you
Our
the
votes matter.
Republicans and the Democrats, they elect electors, and what those electors are basically done, like the Republican electors, if in Arizona, if Donald Trump wins the popular vote in Arizona, then the Republican Party sends their slate of electors to Washington to vote and say, but like our electors are going to Donald Trump. That's what the electors do. So our votes do count. They whoever wins the
Well, they're
popular vote in this
dependent upon-
that's the middle of a sentence. Whoever wins the popular vote in the state, then those electors go and they cast their electoral votes for that person. So when you say our votes don't count, what do you mean?
I'm saying that ultimately our votes are dependent upon a very small group of people who we have to confide in and say, oh, I hope they actually do vote the way that they're supposed to vote. But
Right.
at
Has
the end
there
of the
ever been
day,
an instance where they
could
didn't?
swing
Has
their
there
vote
ever
if
been
they
an
want.
instance where they didn't vote according to the outcome of the election in that state? Have the electors ever voted against what they were allowed to vote for?
I don't know, but the thing is that
No,
they
wait,
they
no.
don't have to.
Wait, hold on.
The-
You don't
regard-
know. Hold on. You don't know, but you're
Nope.
convinced that our votes don't count, but you don't know if this has ever been a system that was abused? Certainly
Nope.
that can't be your answer.
Oh,
You're so
does-
sure our
does the
votes
new-
don't
does
count,
the
but you don't
news-
know?
Does the news report on, oh, hey, just so you know, this is exactly how
No, brother,
this
'cause
is
here's
exactly
it
how
works.
each person
No,
in
let
the
me explain.
Electoral
No,
College
hey,
voted.
Shush. We know the popular vote in every state, in every election. You saying does the news doesn't matter. All you would have to go back and look at is who won the popular vote in that state, and did the electors vote for the person who won the popular vote?
So first
you
and
don't
foremost,
go
for
to the
that to
news,
happen,
dude. You don't need to go to the news for this.
right, you would have to know if every single elector voted that way, but you would
We
not
do know.
that.
Wait, we do know. We know how every elector votes.
How?
Because it's recorded. What do you think they were doing on January 6th? What do you think they were doing when they're certifying the election? What do you think they're certifying?
I guarantee
Wait, no,
you-
I'm asking you a
I
very
guarantee
specific
you-
question. Be quiet. I'm
See, you're
asking you
saying they,
shush,
right?
Shush.
You're saying they.
Shush.
The
Shush.
average American does
Shush.
not know.
Shushies.
The average American can't even tell you.
Shushies. I'm asking you a question. Don't keep answering questions I'm not asking. What do you think they were doing on January 6th?
No,
when they were
you're moving the goalposts.
Nope, not quite done.
You're
What do
moving
you
the
think they were
goalposts.
Nope, you're still talking. What? do
Yes,
you
I
think-
am.
Not during the
Pizza
question.
Gate guy
Wait till
says the
end.
goalposts are moving.
Wait till the end of the question to answer it, okay, sweetheart? What do you think they were doing on January 6th when they were certifying the election? What do you think that process is?
Notice how you say, what do you think they were doing, right? So what you're saying is
You're
that
not answering the question.
average
No.
American
What
is
do you
not
think?
sitting
Yes. Okay.
there.
I'll answer. What do you think Congress was doing on January 6th?
They were literally probably they were probably counting the votes.
How does that? Nope. See, you don't know how the process works. Do you know how that process works when we certify the election? What do they do in Congress there?
You tell me.
You don't know?
Nope.
Certainly you would have known this before you accused the whole system of being corrupt. Certainly you would understand what the system was before you accused it of being corrupt, right?
Well, I can tell you one
I
thing.
guess not.
Like,
So I'll
our
explain it
votes
to
don't
you.
matter
So
at
the
end of the day.
so the electors, they cast their votes, and each state brings their electors. And it is the responsibility of the vice president to receive those electors, make sure that they match the popular vote, and then certify the election.
What the fuck does that even mean? Make sure that the elector's vote matches the popular vote?
Yeah, I just explained this, but I'll do it again. So let's say in Arizona.
Okay, hold on, wait.
No, when you ask
I have a
questions,
question.
wait for
I have a
answers.
question.
Shushies.
I
You
have
just
a
asked a
question.
question. You
I have a
just asked a
question.
question. I'm going to answer that one.
No,
Then
no,
you can
no.
ask another question.
And you answered it and
Oh
said
my
yes.
God, dude. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. My goodness. You know what? You talk
Shut
a
the
lot,
fuck up and ask your question.
and I think that Felice needs a better
Shushies.
co-host. Because
Shushies.
Felice can never answer anything.
Shushies. Ask your question, please. I don't care about your opinion.
Yes. So
Ask your
let's say California, for example. If the popular vote in California was red, are you saying that when it comes down to the electors of California, that they would have to vote red even if they wanted to vote blue?
Yes, because now let me explain this one more time, and I'll do it slowly. The people, the electors that would be voting would have been elected by the Republican Party. And if the popular vote was blue, the electors that would go forward would have been elected by the Democrat Party. When you have your conventions, when I used to be a Republican and I was an elector and I was a precinct chair, we would have a convention and you would nominate people to be electors. And basically the elector's job was to convince everybody else in the party. They're like, yep, I'm a partisan. If we win, I'm definitely gonna vote for our guy. Like I'm gonna vote for our guy. No matter what, I'm a Republican, dyed in the wool. Generally speaking, the people that are elected as electors are known quantities. A lot of times it is the chair and the vice chair and the secretary of the party, of either the local caucus or the state party. These are known entities. We protect ourselves in the parties. So wherever the popular vote goes, there's not just like a set of electors that votes. The set of electors, there's two. There's one from each party, and whichever party wins sends their electors.
Okay, but however, they can choose to flip the switch, though, right?
They can, but that's why I asked. Do you have any evidence? Is there any example you could point to of a time when they flipped?
No, I mean,
no.
Well,
See, so it seems like our system is working.
Wait,
so
RTD,
again, what you did is you started this by saying our votes don't matter, and your reason for that is because the reason you said that is because the electors can vote however they want. And now we have just established that the electors always vote in the way that the popular results came in every single time. It has not happened.
I mean, we don't know that 100%.
No, yes, we do. Yes, we do. This is all public. This is not done.
Yeah, it's not done in secret. It's not done in secret.
This is not secretive. This is a public thing. You can go check it when you get off this call. You can go look through every single election. You can even find out the names of the electors in some states if you're part of the party. You can do this.
Yes.
The problem with you is you don't do any research. You're a feelings guy. You got a lot of feelings.
Honestly, similarly how you said I should do my research, you should truly do your due diligence.
I just dunked on you for like 20 minutes.
Of these pizza
What have
parties.
I gotten wrong? What have I gotten wrong?
What?
What have I gotten wrong that I need to research?
Yeah, these whole pizza part. Oh, by the way, Comet Pizza, they literally did an interview. I believe it was back in.
Wait, now we're back to pizza. You left the electoral thing altogether.
There is a basement in that establishment. It absolutely is a basement in there because they even talked about storing certain things in their basement prior to the whole Pizzagate thing even came out.
Was there a child trafficking ring?
You said, was there what?
Was there a child trafficking ring attached to Comet Pizza?
There may have been.
Oh, there may have been. There's no evidence, but I feel in my heart, because Democrats didn't get reparations, that they are all corrupt, and I now must vote for the racist MAGA. This is one of the.
Can I just say something? There's a great article on this, a New York Times article. It's called "Dissecting the #Pizzagate Conspiracy Theories," and it gets like super in detail about debunking all of this. Like if you're confused
Well, here's the
about
thing,
what
right?
happened.
Like, you people just love to eat up mainstream media. You love
We
to
don't watch mainstream media.
watch
Shut up.
mainstream
Shut
media.
up. Shut up.
They're
Shut up.
these
Shut up.
companies
Shut
are
up.
owned
Shut
by the
up. Shut
exact
up.
same
Shush.
people.
Shushies. 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 Stop. Neither Felice nor I watch mainstream media. In fact, most of our
The
time
New
is
York
spent.
Post is
Shush.
mainstream.
Shush. Shush. Most of our time is
The New
spent
York
consuming
Post is owned by Rupert
right-wing
Murdoch.
media.
I said the New York Times. That's a different
New
publication.
York
It's
Times as well. It's
considered an
mainstream.
authoritative source because of the fact checkers that they do employ. Like, I used to be a historical researcher. The reason that New York Times is considered an authoritative source is because of the historical researchers that they employ.
Notice how you just mentioned a buzzword, fact checkers, right? How
No,
many times have
authoritative
we
source.
seen
Listen,
buzzword.
how many times have we
good
seen
Lord
posts on social
Jesus.
media that
Anyways,
expose corruption where
Wait,
fact
why is fact
checkers
checker?
deem
Wait, why
where
is fact
fact
checker a
checkers
buzz? Wait,
deemed
wait,
it
wait.
as,
Shush.
oh, this is
Nobody can
not
hear you. I'm going to
credible?
talk over you while you're talking until you answer. Why is fact checker a buzzword?
Yeah, it's a buzzword because basically when it comes down to these supposed fact checkers,
What do you mean by supposed?
Yeah, so a lot of when you do the research, like, right, when a certain platform, right, says, oh, this is being censored because fact checkers deemed this as not a credible source.
Yeah.
When you do a deep dive into who the fuck are these fact checkers, it is
Who are they?
random
Who are
ass
they?
people
World
who
peace.
have
Who
no
are they?
credentials.
Wait, who are they? Give me an example.
it's
of,
not
give
at
me
the
an
New York
example-
Times.
give
Not
me
at
an
the New York
example
Times.
of a fact
with
checker.
no credentials.
Give
Not
me,
at
give
the
me
New
an
York
example.
Times.
World peace.
Absolutely
Give
not.
me an
You
example.
can't work at the New York Times with no credentials. So move on.
During your deep dive, certainly you came up with names. Give me
He's
an
talking
example.
about Twitter, how Elon Musk allows crowdsourcing. Like, if enough people say like something on Twitter or X, whatever it's called now, say like if something isn't true, then there's that little disclaimer. That's what he's talking
No, I don't
Well,
think he's talking. I don't think he's talking about that because he's talking about
not only
Pizzagate, which
that-
happened before. So who is the fact checker that was? At
Just
a,
said
at a
he was. He
credible-
just said not only
Yeah,
that.
that's one of the things I was
See,
talking
he is
about.
Hold
talking
on.
about that.
Let me ask this question. Who's the fact checker from a
Can you
left-wing pub-
please not
Shut up.
overtalk Felice?
Shut up.
Fucking
Shut up.
Like, my
Shut up.
gosh.
Shut
Like,
up.
Felice, this must be
Shush.
very difficult
Shush.
to host this thing with
Shush.
him.
Shushies. Okay. Could you give me an example of a fact checker from a mainstream media
I need you
source
to
that
respect
didn't-
Felice
Can
first.
can you shut up, dude? Who is a
Oh,
fact
you.
checker?
Felice needs
Who is a
respect as
fact
well.
checker in the mainstream?
Calm down.
Who is a fact
Calm
checker
down.
in the mainstream? You got like 12 more seconds, or you can bounce. You can stop deflecting, or you can bounce. It's up to you. Felice and I talk over each other all the time. It happens. But I would like you to name an example of a mainstream fact checker that had no credentials.
Yeah, no, you can't even find out who these fact checkers are half the time. But when you the ones that I've been able to find out who they are.
Okay, who are the ones that you found?
It's random.
Who are the
it's
ones that you
random
found?
women
Just
in
names. I just
southern
want names. No, I
states.
don't need an explanation yet. I need names
I'm
first.
not giving an explanation. I'm telling you who it is. Random
Okay,
women in southern states who are employed, right?
What's their
who
name?
Have no
Wait,
college
what's their
degrees,
names? What are
who
their
have
names?
no college degrees.
What are their names?
I didn't write their fucking names down.
so you don't have an example.
Yeah, they're just random women.
Oh,
in
it's just
southern
Okay,
yeah, it's just
okay.
random. Got it.
So, well, now that we're here, let's just do this.
Yeah, Felice, I like you better.
The
You-
Pizzagate
you're
thing.
actually-
No,
you're
let's go over it.
having
So
a conversation
the
with me.
pizza, how the
Hey, please stop talking over Felice.
how
World Peace.
Pizzagate
Would you please stop
conspiracy
that?
theory. You guys just talk over me, and I'll just talk to myself. That's fine.
Go ahead, beautiful.
Okay. Number one, WikiLeaks began releasing emails hacked from the account of John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman, a month before the election. So then this is two. Social media users on a popular Reddit forum dedicated to Donald J. Trump and 4chan's far-right fringe message board searched the releases for evidence of wrongdoing. 3. Within the emails were discussions that included the word pizza, including dinner plans between Mr. Podesta and his lobbyist brother, Tony Podesta. 4. A participant on 4chan connected the phrase cheese pizza to pedophiles who on chat boards used the initials CP to denote child pornography. Okay. So now that's the leap. So for now, if anyone's ever wondering how Pizzagate came around, that's the crazy leap. So because it said cheese pizza, they related that to child pornography. Okay. 5. Following the use of pizza, theorists focused on the Washington pizza restaurant Comet Ping Pong. The WikiLeaks emails revealed that John Podesta corresponded with Comet's owner, James Alefantis, who had connections to Democratic operatives. Okay, number 6. The theory started snowballing, taking on the meme hashtag Pizzagate. Fake news articles emerged and were spread on Twitter and Facebook. 7. The false stories swept up neighboring businesses and bands that had played at Comet. Theories about kill rooms, underground tunnels, Satanism, and even cannibalism emerged in fabricated stories on social media. Number 8, on December 4th, Edgar M. Welch, a 28-year-old from North Carolina, arrived at Comet with a military-style rifle and a handgun. The police said he fired the rifle inside the pizzeria, hurting no one, and surrendered after finding no evidence to support claims of child slaves being held there. So Edgar did an investigation for you. World Peace. He went in there for you and checked out the premises and he found nothing. Number 9, the shooting did not put the theory to rest. Purveyors of the theory and fake news pointed to the mainstream media as conspirators of a cover-up to protect what they said was a crime ring. And then it gets into, it's actually really interesting. So then it gets into the coded language that, because this all boiled down to these emails, right? And what they said was coded language. So combing through John Podesta's leaked emails, members of a far-right fringe community on social media site 4chan and Trump supporters on Reddit pulled out a number of emails unconnected to politics. Several of them mentioned pizza or Italian food. The most cited email revolved around a handkerchief left at a house Mr. Podesta visited with a real estate agent. It led to speculation that the handkerchief and map on it were clues to some sort of wrongdoing. Like, are we grasping what's happening here?
Yeah, so like what I'm listening to is I'm listening to a cover up, number one.
Oh,
there's just I'm being honest. There's just too many
Wait, hold on.
celebrities.
A cover up of
There's
what?
there's too many celebrities
what?
and there's too many politicians who speak about pizza and speak about pizza parties in a very, very unusual way. that
Oh
does
my
not
God.
that
No,
that does not
this
So
is
obviously,
real. Hold
it
on.
must
enjoying
mean that they
food.
are
I
all
gotta tell
together
you guys this.
working
No,
on a
wait.
trafficking
I gotta
ring.
tell you guys what he's talking about. So listen to this. The term cheese pizza had previously been used on 4chan for child pornography. Okay. Now,
Yeah, I was worried that was gonna happen. I was worried Felice would get in
No,
trouble.
bring her back.
We didn't kick her. That was TikTok. She'll have to appeal, but she'll be back. She'll be back
Oh
in a second.
wow, they did not. Okay.
Yeah, this is the thing. Like, it's a dangerous thing to talk about because the problem is, let me just tell you my problem with your theory is that you just spent all this time talking about these faked fact checkers that don't have any credentials. Pizzagate literally was started on 4chan. And 4chan is a completely anonymous place. These are actually anonymous people. And the CP cheese pizza thing, like, that started on 4chan. Somebody we don't know. We have no idea if they have any credentials. That started this whole thing. And yet you're willing to believe this. You're willing to believe this, but you won't believe a fact checker?
Yeah, you want to know why? Because
Yes.
fact checkers are employed by the U.S. government
Who-
usually.
Wait,
and
that's
in addition,
prove that. Wait, prove
a
that.
lot- and
prove that.
a lot
Hold
of
on,
the-
stop. Nope. When you make claims, I ask you to prove them.
Mhm.
Prove that. What fact checkers are employed by the U.S. government? Which ones?
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not. I'm asking you a serious
Okay,
question.
so when it comes down to things that are related to CV-19
Yeah.
that end up getting censored, right? Who
Yeah.
do you think is fact checking those things?
The fact checkers.
Yeah, and so who do you think fact checkers are employed by?
Whatever platform they work for.
Yeah, so the only people that would be able to actually fact check something regarding CV-19 would have to be someone who works for the U.S.
Why?
government.
Why would they have to be government?
What do you mean? Why?
Why? WHY? Why are they the only ones that can fact check CV-19?
Let's see, because those mandates are from the U.S. government. Those
We're not.
protocols are
No,
from
the
the U.S. government.
fact checks weren't on the fact checks weren't on the mandates.
Yeah.
Okay, so try
if
again.
someone-
So
if
why
someone's
can the only
supposedly
people who
spreading
fact check
misinformation about
CV-19
something
be from the
CV-19
government?
related, you would obviously have to.
brother,
you
when
don't-
I'm asking you a question, just don't talk. I'm going to ask it again. So why are the only people that could know about CV-19, why is it only the government?
What do you mean?
Those were your words. You said that the fact checkers work for the government. And you said the only people that would have that information would work for the government. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so like obviously, if the government's the one who created these mandates, they created the vaccine, etc., then they would be.
The mandates don't matter, right? We're talking about
They
the
would
vaccine.
be
Okay.
the only
The government.
ones who would.
You realize the government didn't create the vaccine, right?
Yeah, they patented it, sir. I don't know if you knew that or not, but they have a
Did the
patent.
government create the vaccine?
They patented the damn vaccine.
Did the government? They didn't
So they
patent
had
it.
a hand.
Wait,
in
they
it.
didn't patent it. Yeah, that's
Yes,
crazy.
they.
No, they
Yes,
didn't.
they did.
No, they
Yes,
didn't.
they did.
No, they absolutely
Yes,
did not.
they
But
did.
even if they did, who created it? Was it the government that created it?
Yeah, I mean, their
No,
money
it
went
wasn't.
into
It was not.
Their
It
money went
absolutely
into
was
it.
not. Do you want me
The
to
CDC
tell you
is
who
part of the
created the
government now.
COVID-19? Yeah, no, it wasn't the government. Nobody
it
says that.
definitely
Nobody
was.
makes that claim. Nobody has ever made that claim.
Yeah, it is the government because they patented the damn vaccine.
No, they didn't, dude.
Yes, they
this
did.
is the thing. No,
You should
prove
look into
prove
it then.
Okay, U.S. government patents vaccine. Let's see.
I'll take 100 coins for that.
For what? The Moderna has the patents. You want me to read this? Pfizer and BioNTech asked U.S. government tribunal on Monday to cancel patents on COVID-19 vaccine technology that rival Moderna has accused the companies of infringing. Pfizer and its German partner told the U.S. Patents Office Patent Trial and Appeal Board that the two Moderna patents are unimaginably broad and cover a basic idea that was known long before their invention date of 2015. I will take my 100 coins now, sir.
So
Moderna owns the patents. So you were wrong about that. So let's go backwards now. So the government doesn't own the patents. The federal government didn't do any, it had no mandates outside of federal workers. So again, if you're going to fact check the facts on COVID-19, why can it only be somebody that works for the government that does that?
Yes, again, right? Because obviously that would reduce bias, number one. Number two, the U.S. government is the one who was pushing for these things to happen in the first place.
What things?
The vaccine.
Yeah, they were pushing for the vaccine, but so were the people that were making the vaccine. And so were lots of us that don't work for the government. I was also really excited about a vaccine because COVID decimated my family. So I was really looking forward to a vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I don't work for the government.
Okay.
Okay, so
You're
try
also
again.
not a fact checker.
So try again.
You're also not a fact checker.
Your
Okay.
claim was all fact checkers work for the government, and then you said they have to work for the government because that's the only ones that could know. So how does that work? How did all these government workers wind up working in these tech companies, and why are they the only ones that know? Are you saying they just have a back channel to the government and these are secret spies that work for the government that these tech companies hired? Is that what you're saying?
No, all I'm trying to say
Okay.
is this, right? These
Yeah.
fact checkers clearly are not coming from a place of unbiased.
Well, you are coming from a place of bias, which is why every time I fact check you so far, you've been wrong. Which one of us so far has been wrong about facts, me or you?
Probably you.
What have I been wrong about?
I mean, you've clearly been wrong about Pizzagate.
Yeah, clearly.
And
Okay,
you
try again.
clearly have been wrong
Yeah, clearly.
about
Okay, so
these
you were
fact
wrong about. No,
checkers.
stop it. I don't care about your dumb opinions on your conspiracy
Oh my
theories.
gosh.
You haven't factually proved me wrong on anything. But we keep finding things. Felice just found a whole bunch of things about Comet Pizza, and it even got her in trouble. She spent all that time for you, teaching you something new, and your
Well,
brain is
Felice-
so
that's
your
because
brain is
Felice
so
is an
closed
amazing
off
person.
that
You
you
should
would rather
probably-
that
you
no.
probably
This is
take
the
notes.
middle of my sentence, dude. Not during the middle
Yes,
of my
because you
sentence. Wait,
talk
okay,
too
I'll just
much.
mute you. This is easy. She spent all this time,
You're long-winded.
Hey, Mods, can you take care of that? She spent all this time walking you through this, and you said you liked her. She was so nice. She walked you through all of this, and your idea at the end of that was to be like, I don't want new information. I'm just going to stick with what I believe. Now I do get why you want to vote for Republicans. Because what you want to live in a world where facts don't mean a goddamn thing. They don't mean a thing. And you want to sound like the smartest person in the room, but you're not.
It's interesting that you say that because when it comes down to quote unquote facts seems to be an objective thing when it
No,
comes
facts are not. No.
because
Just wait. Did you say objective?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems like facts are objective to you because it seems like you pick and choose when to accept them.
I don't think you know what objective means.
Subjective, excuse me.
There you go. Facts are objective. They are not subjective.
Yes, and I'm saying that it seems as though they're subjective to you because you pick and choose when
Okay,
they
so
apply.
when I pulled up who owned the patents on
That's not
the
what I'm talking
vaccine, that was that objective or subjective?
Well, it depends what source you were looking at.
Yeah, this was the U.S. Patents Office. Subjective, or they're the ones that tell you who owns patents. Would that be subjective or objective?
Let's see.
Yeah, let's see. They issue the patents. They tell you who owns the patents. Is that subjective or objective?
Well, right here it actually says that the NIH claims joint ownership of Moderna's coronavirus vaccine.
Yeah, the what?
The NIH.
Yeah, who owns the patent?
Yeah, so
I just
according
told
to
you who
that-
owns the patent. Do I need to say it again?
According to that,
According to what?
the fact that the NIH claims joint
What's your
ownership.
source? What's your source there?
Yeah, it is. It's the NIH.
What? Yeah. What's the website? Give me the link there.
Hold on, it's loading.
I'm reading this right now. The NIH has licensed the technologies. That's not a patent. That's licensing. And the technologies that they have licensed include the stabilized spike protein, research tools for vaccine drug and diagnostic development, as well as early stage vaccine candidates and diagnostics. So now what do we do?
Okay, I found it. So it's tech transfer dot
.nih.gov/policy/CTAP. Is that right? Because I'm on that way.
Yes.
The thing, yeah, so I just read that to you. I beat you to your source. That's amazing. Look at us fact checking together. And it says specifically,
Great.
what's the first sentence? Read it.
Still loading.
What kind of internet do you have? Well, I'll read it. NIH has licensed COVID-19 technologies arising from NIH intramural research to the medicines patent pool for access through the World Health Organization's COVID-19 Technology Access Pool, CTAP. And then here's the list. The list includes the stabilized spike protein, research tools, drug and diagnostic development, as well as early stage vaccine candidates and diagnostics. None of this is about a patent. This is all about licensing. Any other questions?
Yeah,
how many more times do you have to be wrong before
Does
you
this
realize that
not
maybe you're
contribute
not
to the
very good at
patent?
fact checking? No? Nothing?
Does it?
Does it what?
I said, does that not contribute to the patent?
No. No, not at all. What are you talking about, dude? Dude, this is the problem I have with your beliefs, is that you are dedicated to being right, despite the fact that you've been wrong on virtually everything so far. But you don't really care about that. You just want to be right. You want to feel like I think you've invested a lot of time and emotion into this idea that these conspiracy theories that you believe are true. And when you find out piece by piece that they're not true, you're doubling down. And that's the tricky thing about conspiracy theories, is what they do is they just link a bunch of stories together and they paint a narrative. and they bring in stuff that they say is evidence, and it proves nothing. And if you go piece by piece through the conspiracy theory and start checking, like, is this true? Is this true? Is this true? It falls apart. And that's what's happening to your conspiracy theory. A normal human being who is just trying to get the right answers, who has they're not dedicated to finding an answer at the end. Nobody would believe this conspiracy theory because there's no
Wait,
evidence of it.
what are
In
we
fact, there's
talking about now?
counter evidence of this
Wait,
entire
what are we
conspiracy
talking about
theory.
now?
Oh my God.
Yeah, what are you calling a conspiracy theory right now?
The part where you said the fact checkers all work for the government, the part where you talked about Comet Pizza, the part where you said that the government was responsible for COVID-19, all of that together, basically probably your entire belief system.
I never said that the government was responsible.
Okay, cool. Go to the other three then.
Okay, yeah. So yes, at the end of the day, when it comes down to the whole comet, rocket, pizza, all that stuff, yes, all of that is technically conspiracy, right? But when it came down to the whole, oh yeah, like they did an investigation, all of these things, like we have to understand that at the end of the day, like mainstream media, they obviously are owned by the same.
Did mainstream media investigate it, or was it investigated by law enforcement?
Right, exactly.
Okay, so you have a problem. Are you saying we can't trust law enforcement either?
Of course not. They
Of
literally
course not. So who can we trust?
Committed
So who can we
atrocities
trust?
across the world.
So who can we trust?
Exactly. That's
who
what
can
I'm
we
saying.
trust?
You can't.
Okay, see this. Yeah, and you can't trust facts. And you can't trust the internet. You don't trust your lying eyes. So see, the thing is this is why this works on you. This is why you'll believe these conspiracy theories, because you are at a place in your life where you literally cannot believe anything other than your own feelings.
No, that's not true.
Wait, can you believe you can't believe the fact checkers, you can't believe the internet, you can't believe law enforcement.
But he's voting for Trump. But you're voting for Trump.
This is what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that, right, ultimately, when it comes down to the USGOV, we know that these individuals are corrupt as fuck and they do sick things, right? Because we know that the war on drugs was literally implemented.
I disagree with you.
I
disagree with you. I do not think that the United States government does sick things. I think that there are people within the United States government that have done sick things.
Yeah,
but the United States government doesn't operate as like one body that's doing all the bidding of one person or a group of people.
Oh, it
like
takes
in any organization, you are going to have corrupt people.
It takes a lot of
when
them
you
to do
hold
the
on,
things
but when
that
you
they
take
do.
that corruption and you apply it to the whole, it's how you get where you are, where you won't believe anything ever.
No.
You just said you just told me there's literally nobody you can believe.
Oh my God.
There's no source. There's nothing
What I'm
you
saying
can believe.
is that obviously you can't believe everything that someone tells you.
What
That's what I'm
can
saying.
you believe?
Well, you have to use critical thinking and reasoning. It
Okay,
depends.
and so let's talk about that. So when we just used critical thinking and reasoning as we walked through this, critical thinking that would take in like, okay, what's the available evidence? What are the facts as at least as we have them? Where, like, let's take in the totality of the evidence, right? That would be critical thinking.
Sure.
Okay, but you didn't know any of this stuff except for the stuff that you believed. And we knew the stuff that you believed and the other stuff. So it looks like we did a lot more critical thinking than you did. And every time you made a claim today, I asked you what you meant by that and for sources. I have been exercising the most critical thinking. Every time you've made a claim to me, I've asked you for a source and clarification.
So first and foremost, right?
Is that critical thinking? Is that critical thinking?
When it comes,
critical thinking? And then you can
when
answer.
it comes, because here's the thing, right? All of these people,
is that critical thinking?
Are you done having your mental breakdown?
I will be done when you answer my question. Is that critical thinking?
Are you done having your mental breakdown?
Is that critical thinking?
Okay, now I will respond.
I will mute you if you don't answer my question.
Okay, so great.
Is that critical thinking?
I noticed that
is that critical thinking? All right, I'm gonna mute you again.
Yeah,
you're muted. Now when I unmute you, I just need you to answer yes or no to critical thinking, and then you can go on with whatever dumb shit you were about to say. Go ahead. Was that critical thinking? Also, who gave George Santos a TikTok account?
Okay, so back to what I was trying.
Is that critical thinking?
Calm down, dictator.
This is a dictatorship? You're
Yeah,
correct.
calm down.
Is that critical thinking?
So again, what I was trying
Is
to originally
that
say.
critical thinking? And then you can go, as I was saying, but answer the question first, and then we'll move on.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
now you can go. See, how easy
great.
was that?
All right, yeah. So is that what you wanted? Good.
Yes. Now you can go on.
All right. So again, right, when it comes down to what you consider facts, right, you're getting your facts from mainstream companies, right, mainstream media and mainstream sources who obviously are owned by the same exact people.
Wait,
BlackRock.
Facts from NIH. I just went to your source.
I'm not talking about
NIH.gov.
COVID-19.
Wait, I just went to NIH.gov. That was.
I'm not talking about COVID-19.
NIH.gov a mainstream
Okay, so this
media
person
source?
is literally incapable of listening. You talk so much that you can't even hear what's being talked about.
I'm asking you. You said
I just
used
said
mainstream,
multiple times because
All right, I'm gonna mute you again. So you said that I use mainstream sources. This was NIH.
I wasn't talking about
NIH.gov.
COVID-19.
It's not. No. Just answer the question.
I was
dude.
not
I don't know why
talking
you
about
run so
COVID-19.
far from questions. No.
I was not
Have
talking
a
about
conversation,
COVID-19.
dude. I'm asking you a clarifying question about what you're saying.
Yeah,
When you
and I just
said
told you I'm
that
not
when
talking
you
about
nope.
COVID-19.
Oh my God, dude. Did I use NIH.gov?
We weren't.
Did I use NIH.gov? I think one of the mods muted him. Listen, brother, I'm going to give you time to answer, but when I'm interjecting you to ask clarifying questions, when you say I'm talking over you, I'm literally just trying to have a conversation. So when you claim that I'm using mainstream media sources and we just came from NIH.gov, do you think that's a fair representation of the sources I was bringing?
I was not talking about that. I was literally trying to
mainstream
explain
sources were
to
you
you this
talking
whole
about?
time. I'm not talking about the whole COVID thing. We already said that that's not what we were talking about. We dismissed that, right? Because
Okay.
obviously that's something that, yes, that's provable, right?
Great.
We were talking about right now Pizzagate and all those other things, right? We're talking about obviously, right? Because this is where I'm coming from. The place that I'm coming from in terms of like what is deemed as conspiracy, right? Like the whole Comet Pizza thing, like I truly believe that when it came down to the whole Comet Pizza thing, I believe that there was more than enough validity to what occurred. I think that that person who went in there with the pew pew was literally one of those. I feel like that was one of the distractions used to make it seem as though it was a huge hoax.
Wait, so when you say there's validity, let's make sure that we're clear on this. The charge was that they were trafficking children through Comet Pizza. That was the charge. There has not been a single child that has been recovered that said that happened. There's not been a single person who was involved in a trafficking ring that has come out and said that. There is zero evidence that anybody was trafficking children in and out of Comet Pizza. So when you say that I believe that the evidence is strong that was happening, you're literally talking about a post that Felice brought up on 4chan where where they said cheese pizza and somebody changed that and said they mean child stuff, right? That's what you're talking. You understand? That's your source. A random person on 4chan is your source, and that's the only thing. It's emails.
That's not it, though, right?
It's emails, but there's no physical evidence of anything ever happening. None, right?
Right.
Okay. So do you see how that for us like that seems a little crazy that despite the fact that there's no physical evidence, you are now willing to vote for people who you agree
here's the thing,
are
right?
openly racist and will fight against equality because of this email?
Do you ever stop like
I'm asking you gotta wait till the end of the question. I'm asking,
I feel like you talk so much.
I do talk a lot
to a point where
shut
you
up, dude.
steamroll.
Quit crying. Just have the conversation.
Nobody's crying, but
Just
you
have
love
the
to hear yourself talk
conversation.
so much.
All right, I'm almost done with you. Can you just answer questions?
I'm not here to answer your question. I'm here to have a
Then what are
conversation.
you here for?
I'm here to have a conversation. And
Well, you're not
right
doing
now,
it. That's how conversations
you're
work.
preventing me from doing so.
Conversations work when you ask each other questions and ask for clarification, dude. So I'll ask again. Do you think that like your whole reason for voting for Donald Trump is basically a conspiracy theory that was started on 4chan. And
you admit there's no evidence of.
I think because here, this is what you're doing, right? What you're trying to do is you're trying to create this narrative of, oh, the only reason you're voting for this man is because you believe that X event happened and that he's the reason.
I'm asking you. I'm giving you the opportunity to tell me where I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, that's
so
not
tell me where
why.
I'm wrong.
That's not why.
Okay, then tell me why.
Do I believe that Pizzagate is a real thing? Absolutely. Do I believe that Hillary Clinton is one of the biggest human sex traffickers in the world? Absolutely.
What are you talking
so
about?
Again, yeah, that's what,
you're making things up. Like that's the
up when
point.
she was
It's not a
Secretary of
conversation
State.
for
Look
you to
up when
just
she was
make
Secretary
up
of State.
ludicrous, delusional claims that have
at when
no
she was-
evidence. So if you want to have a good faith conversation, let's switch to that. Thank God. Who did that? I did not do that.
I didn't either, but that's enough. What'd you get? Misinformation? Is that what you got hit
Yeah,
with?
ironically, the person who was trying to debunk his misinformation.
I wondered if just reading it out loud would flag it. Like, even though you were debunking it, just even like reading the claims out loud, I wonder if that's what flagged it. World peace. I'm not interested in continuing that conversation with you any longer. We're good. Cassidy, if you're here, I don't know if Cassidy is opposition. Cassidy, are you opposition? If you could let us know in the comments. That was as deep as a conspiracy theorist as I've ever had on.
But that's not... I mean, like, once you get to a place where the conversation is so bad faith, like, when you admit, I have no evidence for any of the claims I'm making. I'm just saying things that I desperately want to be true, but probably aren't. You know, like, but yeah, I admit there's no evidence. Like, I admit for me at that point, it's just like, it's hard for me to like stay engaged in the conversation because it's just like, it's not based in reality. Like, it's just like, hey, I want something to be true. But I have no evidence. Nobody has any evidence. But I just desperately want the following things I'm going to ramble off to be the case.
That's the definition. That's like when people are accused of being cult members, when we say things like that. That's what we mean. When you believe things without evidence uncritically and you refuse new evidence that comes out or counter evidence and you dismiss it because it doesn't agree with your conclusion, like that's just cult behavior. That's what that is. Like, I get it. But I do think we're at that stage with Trump supporters where
for sure.
I
just don't know how far we need
so
to like
bad.
engage in the conversation. Yeah, like I just don't know like what the point is of having the conversation. I do recommend that New York Times article though, because it's actually super in depth. That is the good thing about the internet and conspiracy theories is like when you get a good researcher who's like, you know, really
Paid by the
proficient at their
government.
job. Yeah. Oh yeah. Excuse me. It was, what did he say? That all researchers
All
are
fact
people-
checkers are
fact
government
checkers
employees.
are
Yeah.
government employees. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I was here for that part. But yeah. So like you can sort of trace all of this stuff back. So it is actually a quite interesting article. I think I'll finish it later, but as far as like what's the value in that conversation, we went from talking about Nikki Haley not being able or refusing to say the word slavery, which was a more relevant conversation to, you know, talking about
like anything more relevant than anything. The funny thing is, at the start of that conversation, myself and a lot of the Discord were like, this fucker lied to us. He's not opposition. It turns out he was not lying. He was opposition. But it was a bizarre, in totality, he started off with just agreeing with you that, yeah, like, the reason you say this is because all the racists are over there and you have to appease the racists. And then he's like, I'm a person of color. And by the way, like, I'm going to go be with the racists.
I'm appeasing the
because
racists.
Pizzagate.
Well, yeah,
It was wild.
It didn't. It was a big intellectual leap that sort of made no sense. Like what I wanted when we were talking about the Nikki Haley stuff, I wanted to make the point that when we talk about systemic or structural racism, like the vast majority it's subconscious, right? It's been ingrained in us since birth. Like colorism, when you isn't someone thinking, oh, there's a dark-skinned person, and because of that, now I'm having this conversation in my head, like now I shall be racist. These are subconscious things that are going on. When we look at misogynoir, like women in black women giving birth are more likely to die in childbirth than white women or suffer complications. All of these things, when you read about these studies, which are it's about bias, medical bias. It's not accusing it. These studies aren't saying these doctors are like secret racists. It's subconscious bias, unconscious bias that is affecting. And that's why it's so dangerous. Or when a policeman is pulling over, how black and brown people are disproportionately pulled over or disproportionately convicted of crimes. Like that's subconscious. Like I just think it's important to mention that.
Hello, could I get a cheese pizza? You know, I really came in here to tell
It'd
you
make
that
me
if you
hungry.
came to my live host, everybody would think that you were my much younger, much smarter, and much better looking little brother.
Oh man, if I'm smarter than you got problems. That's not good.
And
That's
police
not
Well,
good
guys,
for
tap
you.
the screen. Let's get to 160K and
I've
let's
been
get
tapping the
another
screen.
Republican
I
in
only
here.
came in here just to say that and to say you guys are unbelievably amazing, and it drives me crazy that you can even handle this because I can't.
It's okay.
All right, you guys have a great day.
I appreciate the kind words. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Casey. Bye.
I think Felice did momentarily give up on handling it, but I think the Discord was happy because they got you for a few minutes during the live. I think it was a win-win for them. Felice, you're muted.
Yeah, I admit it. It's hard for me when someone is so far out there, like beyond reason, is like, I have no evidence for this. Or how about the fact he completely articulated pretty well, like, hey, systemic racism does exist. I understand these things are happening. Like, he could recognize it all, but then is like, and I will be, based on all of the facts I did say correctly, I will be doing the opposite. It's just like, what?
Gwyneth and Harley, welcome. I don't know if you're both here, but if you are,
No,
welcome.
it's just me, Harley.
You must be Gwyneth. Oh, I was wrong.
Yeah,
What's up?
man. I just want to say, I've been listening to you for a long ass time, but my only thing with the whole, do you really think that Biden's going to win the election if it's Biden against Trump?
I don't know. I mean, it depends on it probably depends on like what information you think is going to be the most relevant. I think that Biden has a huge advantage, not necessarily because of him, because the Trump messaging and the messaging around the country is that the economy is in shambles and that he hasn't done a good job. I don't know how he's going to overcome that because every time we get new numbers, it doesn't seem to change the polling. People have just accepted that Joe Biden will not lead a good economy. So that's going to be difficult. But you have the stuff with Roe v. Wade. You have a bunch of court cases that are going to be public. Like the Georgia case is going to be public, and you have Gen Z who largely doesn't participate in polls. So I think it's fair to say that there's a real chance Trump wins. But for me, placing actual bets, which I do, I think the smart money is on Biden.
I get that. The where it doesn't make sense to me is whenever Biden basically said that he was going to be a one-term president and now is going more into it to run again. I feel like if the Democrats had somebody else running in that chair, it would be a better scenario. But at the same point, Trump is Trump.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's possible that Biden did intend to be a one-term president, with the thinking that when he beat Trump, Trump wouldn't run again, or the Republicans would turn on him. Usually, when you're like, if you lose the presidency, like when George H.W. Bush lost the presidency, nobody was like, let's run again. Like you were a one-term president, let's run again. No, nobody does that. Usually, that's a death knell. So I think it's possible that that's what Biden thought. But I do think you're correct. Biden still believes he's the only one that can beat Trump, and I don't think he's right on that. I think there's a lot of Democrats that could beat Trump. I don't think it would necessarily be a progressive Democrat. It may not be somebody that I really, really like, but there are other moderate Democrats that would beat Trump.
And I'm not gonna sit here and try to go for MAGA anyways. I know that's what you're trying to go for, but I did have one more question for you. I know with the the Democratic side, they're trying to do more of like everybody gets healthcare for free. I do serve in the military, and I will tell you that a government running the your healthcare, like TRICARE and stuff like that, it takes about 6 months to get an appointment. So my kind of worries about that is
Is that for anything or for like specialists?
It's not really special. It's like to get a dental appointment just for a cleaning. It's for if your leg hurts.
Yeah, you schedule them 6 months out. Like, I mean, but to say that it's not fair, and you know it's not fair to say that if you need to see a doctor, if you're sick, that it takes 6 months. That's absolutely not true.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Like it's called sick call. So like, yeah, you could go up there and like if you have a cold or something like that, like you can go get it taken care of. I understand that. But what I mean by like that is like PTing, like a PT, like going for trying to get your leg better or anything like that. It does take long. It takes a very long time to even get scheduled for stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know all the details, but I know if you look at the VA and you look at Medicare, I haven't looked specifically at TRICARE, but if you compare not only the outcomes but the satisfaction, Medicare and the VA rank better in both outcomes and overall satisfaction than private healthcare. So I agree. Look, there's some issues with any healthcare system. There always will be, but the third best is private healthcare. Medicare and the VA both offer better outcomes and better satisfaction, and that's largely dealing with a bunch of people who have pre-existing conditions, people who actually use the healthcare a lot. So those aren't even being necessarily propped up by other people who are healthy that are funding it. I think that the fact that every country in this world does universal healthcare for their citizens, but every developed country, and we're nowhere near the top on outcomes, on affordability, on satisfaction. We're basically like near the top on how much doctors make. That's it. We're number 2. But every other measurable statistic, we're barely cracking the top 10. So I don't think that necessarily by itself is a good argument to not have government-run healthcare. And by the way, it's not government-run healthcare. It's government-run paying your bill. So you're still going to the doctor that you want to see. There's no more in-network, out-of-network. The stuff that you deal with TRICARE, VA, Medicare, the in-network, out-of-network, literally everybody becomes in-network. Okay. So if your doctor's too busy, you can find a different doctor, and it's always going to be covered. That's the beauty of universal healthcare. No more in-network, out-of-network. Like, yeah, maybe the best doctors will have a longer wait time, and that's how it's going to be. But you're going to be able to find a doctor.
I got you. And that was the only big worry that I had with that, because I see how it goes with, people trying to get it and all that stuff. But, I didn't think of it as if everybody had to take everybody. You know what I mean? I didn't think of it that way. So I appreciate you bringing me up.
Yeah, man, it's nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you, too.
Say hi to Gwyneth for us.
I will.
All right. See it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, like that's fundamentally untrue about Medicare. Like if for Medicare specifically, because we're talking about Medicare for all, and you can absolutely get appointments. Like my dad, because I take care of my dad, and he has Medicare, and I schedule his appointments, and they certainly don't. They're next to appointments, so I don't know like exactly what is being talked about. But my dad does physical therapy, all of it through Medicare, and it never has trouble scheduling an appointment.
What is TRICARE? I assume you pay
TRICARE is
into
for the
TRICARE,
military.
right? But
TRICARE,
you pay into it? Because it says it's for uniformed service members and their families, National Guard Reserve members, their families, survivors, former spouses, Medal of Honor recipients and their families. I just don't know if you pay for it. I have no idea.
No, you don't.
Okay, so that if you qualify under one of those, then you get.
Too bad Hawk's
Medicare
not
paid
here.
for.
He's the one. He has TRICARE. I remember I'm trying to think of who. TRICARE 101. Sorry, I'm just looking up.
ML Fox in the comments says that everybody's saying you do pay into TRICARE. That's what I thought.
Yeah, TRICARE.
That's what
Together. Healthcare resources of the military health system, such as military hospitals, clinics, with a network of civilian healthcare professionals, institutions, pharmacies, and suppliers to foster, protect, sustain, and restore health. Blah blah blah.
Okay, so that's probably not like the best example comparing government-run healthcare. Then it's probably not the same.
Well,
because
Medicare
now,
is the closest.
right.
Yeah. And it's just,
All right.
I think that's just a common thing. People are like, oh, it takes 6 months to get an appointment. That's just not true. Anyone who has Medicare knows that.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that. I didn't want to, because I didn't know anything about
Well,
TRICARE.
that's just,
so I'm like,
that's what people say. If you say universal health care to someone, then people will be like, it takes 6 months to get an appointment. That's the number one objection.
is anybody that's in the box opposition? I have, and I'll try and watch the comments. I have Myth Lover, Darnell, and Chad. Are any of you guys opposition?
Guys, tap the screen. Let's get to 180K. Share the live with a Republican. We'd love to talk to a couple more Republicans. We have until 1 p.m. And also, if you don't have anyone to share with, push the copy link button. Any interaction with the live helps us appear on the For You page.
We got our friend Josh is here. Josh, you can come up.
I saw Josh has been in the comments just working hard. His fingers must be tired. I know. I've been talking to Josh in the comments.
There's an invitation. Oh, you have been? There you go, Josh.
A little bit. I said hi.
What's happening?
Hey, Josh.
How's it going?
Spreading some MAGA cheer today? What's going on?
I'm always spreading MAGA cheer. I love MAGA.
Yeah, I noticed. We noticed that. I think that's why.
How can you not love something that you want to make your country great again? What's wrong with that? I don't get it.
I think it would be terrific to make our country better than it is right now.
How would you go about by doing that?
The first thing I would do is universal health care. Medicare for all.
First thing I would do would be to close the border.
Yeah. And see, mine would lift like millions of people out of poverty and make sure that there's no more medical bankruptcy, and it would take care of a lot of the unhoused who don't get medical care. It would immediately make like millions, basically almost every American's life better, and yours would just mean less brown people were here.
Well, I mean, it's not going to make the 11-year-old raped, murdered girl in Texas who got raped and killed by an immigrant the other day. Now, it's not going to help her.
No, it wouldn't. It definitely would not fix that.
Okay. But just making sure that.
Yeah. I'm making sure of that. Now you know that happened. Like Americans do that to Americans all the time.
Yeah,
too,
I know
right?
Americans do that, but I mean, let's add to it too, right? With extra people that we don't vet or we
Well,
don't
I'm
know
just
where they come
if
from.
we're gonna do that, if we're gonna go after like organizations, like you're gonna go. If you say we need to stop the Democrats because they allow, they're maybe more friendly to immigrants, then I think that we ought to also go after churches and red states who are very friendly towards abusers and who
I agree with that.
who make exemptions for people to not be mandatory reporters because Jesus is on their sign. I think if we care about kids, and I think you and I both do, I think what we should do first is go after the groups that are hurting the kids the most. Wouldn't you agree with
And
that?
who would that be?
Well, that would be churches, primarily.
You think churches are hurting more kids than our education system is?
Like abusing children? Yeah, 100%.
Well, abusing, yeah. But do you think that the education
Well, that's what I meant.
system's
That's
up
what I
to
was
par
talking
in
about.
this
We're
country?
talking about like physically abusing children, obviously,
Okay,
because
so
you brought up the
all
girl in
churches
Texas.
are physically so basically
No,
you're
that's what
saying
we're
all
talking about.
churches or
Yeah, that's
some churches have massive abuse going on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you not know about this?
I'm not a big churchgoer.
Yeah. Have you heard of the Mormon Church? Have you heard of the Catholic Church?
Sure.
Yeah. Two of the biggest churches in our country. Massive scandals, covered up hundreds of thousands of cases of abuse. And never admitted guilt, just tried to pay to make it go away.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess we would have to rein that in on the churches.
We should,
But
but
yeah,
I,
for me,
that's what I'm saying.
for
If we care
closing
about,
but
if
we
we care about
talking about
kids, should-
closing the border, right? I mean, that's what we were talking about.
Well, yeah, but I
mean,
was
if
just
you're
saying,
gonna-
if it's about protecting children, then let's do the thing that's most effective for protecting children. And the
Can
thing,
I ask you a question? Do you think more children are being trafficked in churches or across the border right now?
well, we weren't talking about trafficking, but we can move to that in a minute. But right now we're talking about abuse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and the answer is churches.
Well, I don't really want to talk about abuse and all these other things. I was trying to tell you that the number one thing that I would do to make our country safer is to secure the border.
What? Yeah, you work for Border Patrol, right?
You said to bring it. You said that you would have health care for everyone. Most people have health
You-
care. I mean, between
Yeah.
the private health care and between, Medicaid, which does, I'm sorry, it costs taxpayers too much money and it does need to be reformed.
No, it doesn't. And no, it doesn't. And yes, it does. It doesn't cost us too much money. In fact, we underfund it. We don't pay enough into Medicare. That's the biggest problem with Medicare, is that it's underfunded. But I do agree it needs to be reformed.
Okay.
And I think that reform means it should include everybody.
So my big question to you is why do you think Democrats are losing right now? Why do you think Trump's winning in all the polls?
Well, yeah. So I would say that Democrats are actually Democrats might be losing, or Trump might be winning in polls, but every election since 2016 has been won by Democrats. So Democrats may lose in the polls, but what we're seeing election after election after election is that Democrats are winning. Remember,
Yeah,
Trump's not in
we've
office
seen-
because he lost. That's why he's not in office.
Right.
And then in 2018, while he was in office, they lost in 2018, they lost in 2020, they lost in 2022. So Republicans are losing where it matters, but they're winning in polls, I guess. If you want to hang your hat on that, that's great. But when it comes down to who people actually vote for, Republicans are in a lot of trouble. Lauren Boebert,
Well, I mean,
Lauren
you guys
Boebert has
didn't
to
win
move.
Congress, right?
Lauren
We
Boebert
had
has to move.
Congress went red, right? I mean, we're red.
Congress. Well, so here's the thing that you have to look at when
No,
that
the
was
House.
a win.
But
Well,
you
no-
you have to understand that that's not true, right? The House, the Republicans have control of the House, not the Senate.
Mhm.
You know that, right?
And that's exactly why
So,
nothing's
and that's
getting
why,
done.
and we've passed what 27 bills.
That's exactly why nothing's getting done.
Out of
The House has sent up
724
bills.
votes.
The House is, but listen, the House has sent up
No.
bills.
The job
to
of
reform-
the House is to write bills, right, that are
Right.
bipartisan in nature that can pass the Senate. But so I'm
But
just making
I've
to the
already
point to
said,
you. You
the
said
House
the
has
Congress
passed
has
bills to
gone
send to the
red.
Senate, and
the
they haven't
Congress
done
has not
anything.
gone red. So let's just.
Okay.
I just want to make the point that that's not true.
Okay. All right. Anyways, the House
But
has
isn't that
passed
what I
bills
think-
and written bills, and they've sent them up to the Congress, but the Congress hasn't even. I don't even think Chuck Schumer's looked at them.
The House has passed bills and sent them to the Senate. The Congress is the House and Senate together.
Sweetheart.
Yeah, but one of the things that Felice said.
Do not call
Congress
me sweetheart.
Oh, that's right.
Listen,
You don't
you
like
just
that. I
said the
forgot.
House passed bills and sent them to the Congress. The House is part of the Congress. The House
Congress
passes
passed
bills and
sent
sends them to the Senate. Okay.
And Chuck Schumer has not even done a single thing about it. They haven't looked at it.
No,
They haven't
that's
talked about
absolutely also not true. You have no idea what's
Okay.
going on in the Senate. The bills are voted when a bill comes to the Senate, right? It they take care of it, and it's either they vote on it. And how many
So
bills
what
have
is
passed?
going on in the
27.
Senate today?
27.
So what is going on in the Senate today then?
To like right now.
Not a whole lot, right?
Well, that's the thing.
They're on vacation.
This is how the process works, Josh, is that the bills start in the House, and then if they get passed in the House, they go to the Senate. The problem is, I think Republicans don't understand that just because you have a majority in the House doesn't mean that, number one, the majority of Americans agree with you, or number two, that all of your bills should pass. Felice mentioned this earlier. Their job is not to pass bills. Their job is to pass bills that have bipartisan support and can pass in the Senate. The problem is Republicans are not budging. They're not offering bipartisanship. They are saying do it our way, and they're just pushing those bills through. They're never going to pass. It's an inability of these people representing you to be willing to compromise and find things that work for the American people.
It's not that it's not their inability. They know what we want. HR.
They know what you want. We're saying the same thing,
They
Josh.
know what the voters want.
No, they
voters.
don't. That's the problem. Because the things that they're passing aren't popular enough. If it's what the voters wanted, then the people that represent the voters would vote for those things.
75% of
MAGA
the people in
voters
the country want a secure border. 75% of all Americans, probably 80 now, want a secure border.
Yes, correct.
So
but
why
they don't agree.
are they not? Why are Democrats not representing their
Because,
constituents?
Josh, the bills that are being passed, they don't believe will secure the border. They don't agree with the Republicans' prescriptions to fix what's happening at the border. So Republicans' job, if they want to get funding for the border, is to work with Democrats and come up with a
They don't need
compromise
funding.
and come up with a compromise for their border
They need
security.
to follow the law.
For their Josh, please, let's not do this again. I'm trying to be nice to you, but when I'm talking, please don't interrupt. That'd be great. Just let me finish what I'm saying, and then we can have an actual open dialogue here. So if they are passing bills that aren't making it through the Senate, what happens is you guys are like, oh, well, it's the Senate's fault. It's Democrats' fault. The ownership should be on the Republicans. They're not willing to work enough with Democrats to pass a bill that maybe you guys wouldn't all be thrilled with, but at least we could do something. That the whole purpose of Congress is to compromise. That's what they're there for. They are not there to ram through legislation that their district wants. Their job is to do the best they can for their district, and they are supposed to compromise. That's how it's supposed to work.
And it's worth noting that in 2021, right, Biden did send an immigration bill to Congress, and it was voted down.
Josh,
He
I don't know
asked
if you
for
know that
money.
you're muted.
Yeah, oh, sorry. I didn't realize he was muted.
So my big thing is we have laws. We're a nation of laws, correct? And the laws on the books that yes, asylum is a law. I get it. But we're also using asylum as kind of like, they're not using it the way that it was intended for.
No, do you get it that it's a law? Because you said we're a nation of laws. Asylum, it is the law that people can claim asylum, and now you're saying, but they can't. So do you get that we're in a nation of laws?
They can claim it, but do they have to remain in our country? Doesn't say
As
that.
an answer to your question, the remain in Mexico is a human rights violation because of the nature
No,
of
it's not.
asylum. Yes, it is.
No, it's
Josh,
not.
you don't know anything
No,
about
it's
it.
not.
Josh, every time I talk to you, I have to find out how little you know about anything. It
And
absolutely
section,
is.
let's go to the, listen.
Stop talking,
let's
Josh.
look at
Stop
section
talking while I explain to
1325
you
about
while you're wrong, Josh.
illegal.
Josh, stop talking while I explain to you while you're wrong. So the reason Remain in Mexico eventually had to be overturned by the Supreme Court, it was just an executive order. It was a it violates several several human rights violations in one, because when people are claiming asylum, the reason it's our law to allow people to claim asylum, they are in danger. They are running from danger. So when we leave
They're not
them,
in danger. They're poor.
no,
Poverty
Josh,
isn't dangerous.
Josh, when you leave people in no man's land, right, by your guys' own admission, right, the southern border is dangerous. There's trafficking going on. When you want to use the trafficking argument at the border and say how dangerous it is for the children, then you present that argument as a fact. But in this case, you're trying to present it as not a fact. It's too dangerous for people to be floating around in Mexico where the cartels are, where traffickers are. It's too dangerous. It's a human rights violation. That's why Remain in Mexico is not a law and couldn't be and had to be repealed. The only reason it could be an executive order was because of why? COVID, right? It was about we had an emergency worldwide pandemic.
Plandemic, you mean?
Josh, do you
The
understand
plandemic.
that courts and the Department of Homeland Security, like they agree
All I'm
with
saying
police.
is you guys just need to look
Wait,
at
no, Josh,
section-
please stop doing that.
Just
Josh,
do
you
me a
gotta
favor.
stop doing this
Read
thing.
USC.
Josh, god damn it, dude. You gotta stop. Josh, stop doing this thing where you don't talk until I start talking. Wait until I'm done talking, or this won't go well. This is the problem with talking to you, Josh. This is why when we were in Mods Live the other day, even though you were on their side, everybody was laughing at you because you can't have a
You guys
conversation.
don't let me talk.
This has been ruled on in courts, Josh. The Department of Homeland Security agrees. It has been ruled a human rights violation. It just has. It violates treaties. It violates international law. Remain in Mexico was a human rights violation.
It's not a human rights violation, and if you read the law, It's
Josh,
8
it was
USC
ruled a human
13.
rights violation. You are a Border Patrol agent. You are not
Okay.
trained in the law. You have shown
Right.
you have shown no
And we're
I
breaking
would
the
not
law.
take
You're
your
letting
I would
everybody
not
break
take
the
your
law.
opinion.
Like, this is
I
the
would not
reason.
take- Josh,
Basically, you
I would
guys
not
want
take
people
your
to come
opinion
here and
over a
break the
Republican
law.
judge
The first
in
thing they
Texas.
do here,
All right, Josh.
the first
Josh, I'm not taking your word over a Republican judge in Texas who ruled it was a human rights violation. We're not going to argue
It's almost
about
like
that.
I said that. It's almost like me, this person, the woman with the tiny brain, said that. That not only do Democrats say it's a human rights violation, judges said that. The Supreme Court said that. That's why it had to end. That's why Remain in Mexico couldn't stay in place.
Can you guys name me one other country that this would be allowed to happen?
That what would be allowed to happen? That the courts would
Syria.
overrule. That the courts would be allowed to overrule stay.
I have a question for you.
Wait, I'm asking
Do you
Josh.
think
You
that you
asked
could
a
go
question,
to the
Josh.
Wait,
Josh,
am I ever going to
listen,
get to
brother,
talk?
I don't know.
Wait,
if
do I get
you've
to talk?
ever
See,
spoken-
here we go again. I don't
Josh,
get to
you
talk.
asked me
I
a
don't get to
question.
talk.
Josh, calm down. Calm down. You asked me.
Can
a
you go to
question.
the British
Josh,
Virgin
Josh,
Islands and
Josh,
just shut up shop
Josh,
on the beach?
Josh,
They'll deport
Josh,
you.
Josh, when you ask,
Seriously,
Josh,
they'll deport you.
Josh, sweetheart. Josh, when you ask a question, wait for people to answer the question before you start talking again. You asked a question. Is there another country where this could happen? Yes. Most countries would rule the stay in Mexico policy a human rights violation. They've weighed in on this. It's been weighed in on all across the globe. And they agree that it violates international law and international treaties. So yes, this would happen in other countries.
Well, as a Border Patrol agent and somebody that works for Border Patrol, I totally disagree with you. 100%.
Okay, but is it Border Patrol agents and Border Patrol's job?
Like when people
Wait,
are
Josh,
coming
Josh,
up-
that's
wait,
the
wait,
middle.
when
Josh,
people are
that's the
coming
middle
up
of a
and saying,
sentence
"Are you
again.
looking for
Josh,
work?" And they all
God
say yes.
damn it, Josh. I don't know if your brain is broken. You ask questions and I start answering them, and then you start yapping. You have to be the worst.
Yeah.
There you go. You're still talking. This is crazy, Josh. Be quiet. Josh, Border Patrol agents are not legal scholars. They do not interpret the law. Again,
You're-
as a
enforce it, you
Border Patrol
dumbass.
agent,
They
as a-
fucking
Josh,
enforce
be
it.
quiet, dude. Your impulse control is crazy. As a Border Patrol agent, you have no expertise in the law. None. You don't. You have no more expertise than I do. So I'm gonna go ahead and abide by the Supreme Court and the courts in Texas that ruled, and then all around the globe that ruled this was a human rights violation. You don't have authority. Stop mentioning that you're Border Patrol as if that gives you authority to interpret the law. It doesn't.
Northern border. I'm sorry. I should.
What does that matter if it's?
I'm just stating where you are. We are in Arizona, at a state that borders the southern border. I'm just doing a geography lesson for
going
everyone.
on here. And it's okay to let all these people into America, but you're gonna reap. Trust me, we're all gonna reap what has happened here. This is
Oh, wait, I
it's
wanna
gonna help
speak to
destroy
that.
the country,
Hey,
like for real.
I want to speak to that. We absolutely have an immigration crisis. We have a crisis at the southern border. Like the numbers, the amount of people coming to the border, it's unsustainable. But like I said, in 2021, Biden brought an immigration bill to the House, asked for more funding. It was turned down. Like what I want you to think about, Josh, is two things. Number one, why does no one have a vested
They don't
interest
need
in
it.
fixing this,
You
Josh?
have-
That's what your problem is. You're all like MAGA, MAGA, MAGA. You
follow
are
the
getting
law.
got, Josh. If you learn one thing, you please look at history. Look how Republicans have voted, and it has never once in the history of this country been to do any of the things that you're constantly screaming that you want to happen, right? Like those are just the facts. You want closed borders? Republicans have never ever voted. Now, when election time comes around, you start hearing people say it. But that's the thing, Josh, is you need to stop looking at actions or listening to the words and look at voting records. Look at actions. The Republican Party has never done anything to stop immigration. But what we are dealing with now, because I agree with you, Josh, this is a unique, very serious situation. We have a crisis that needs to be fixed with funding, with manpower, with all sorts of things. And it is a GD shame that the American people and the poor people on the other side of the border trying to seek asylum are suffering as a result of these two parties we have who are fighting over an election, right? They're just talking. They're not doing, right? The Republicans are just talking to get elected, Josh. They're not doing anything. And to speak about whose job is it to do something about this? It's not the president. It's Congress. It's Congress's job. It's the Republicans in Congress's job who control the House to draft legislation that is bipartisan and can move through the Senate.
No, people can join the military to get free college money. Did you know that? Because I spent 20 years in the military. I got free college money. Go do that. Asking for
Thanks for your service, dude. Appreciate it.
Yeah, 20 years.
About handouts?
And then you guys.
What's your point, Josh?
I didn't get handouts. I got an athletic scholarship. I don't know what you're talking about.
The Democrats are using little tactics like reparations and free college to get votes. And it's never going to happen. It never happened to begin with, so it doesn't really matter. They're just lying.
Who do you think is going to...
Those aren't even the issues.
Happen? Who do you think is opposing reparations and tuition-free college?
Everybody in America.
Everybody in America. Got it. Yeah. Nobody in America wants reparations.
But the Democrats are bribing people with it.
Nobody wants it. But that's how we're getting our vote.
That makes sense, Josh.
You're okay paying your tax dollars. You're okay paying your tax dollars for those things, correct?
Yeah, 100%.
100%. Okay.
Yeah, Josh.
You
100%.
Too? Both of you. You're 100% on board paying tax money. That your tax money can go towards that.
Yeah, if you're saying yes, I got an athletic scholarship to college, but I absolutely want to. I think that secondary education, university should be free. Absolutely. If we're interested, if this is a capitalistic economy and we want to do what's best for capitalism, then yes, we would educate people for free.
Yeah, 100%. It's funny if you look around the world and you look at
like
our rank. Josh, sweetheart, that was the middle of my sentence again. Okay, you're gonna go next. So it's interesting if you look all around the world and you see the countries that are bypassing us when it comes to education, when it comes to outcomes, when it comes to just the total education of their populace. Almost all of them have free education. Almost all of them have free university, and we're getting passed by all of these countries. And the Republicans are like, we better homeschool everyone. We better start homeschooling because we're so afraid of the word socialism that we wouldn't dare mimic what everybody else is doing that is causing them to be more educated than us. We're going to come up with our own way. And our own way is to take people and send them home and have them educated by their parents. Yeah, your guys' solutions they suck.
And also, Josh, you tried to say poor. You tried to say poor democratic cities. Poor democratic cities, right, are actually subsidizing the real poor states, which are the red states. Do you understand that, Josh? The crime-ridden blue cities, you do understand that are generating all the money in this economy. States like California are actually subsidizing, are giving welfare to red states. That's what's actually happening. Just to correct you.
You should come visit Detroit. Just FYI, you should really come visit Detroit.
I've been to Detroit.
Josh, I've been to Detroit several times.
Okay, well,
you should go visit the small towns in South Carolina that I lived
Nothing
in.
You're saying makes sense. You're just saying words. You again don't know what socialism. You're about to say something that makes no sense. You said that blue cities are poor.
Yeah,
I'm correcting you that blue states are subsidizing
grade, right? Everybody's going to get the same exact grade, no matter what happens.
That's not what socialism is,
Josh.
This is how
socialism
It's nothing to do with socialism, but let's move on.
Of everybody's bullshit in a class and give them that grade, nobody's going to study for
It's
shit.
unreal that that's what you think socialism is.
if you take rewards away from hard work, what do you think will happen?
You have no
hold on,
idea
hold
what
on,
you're talking
hold
about.
on.
We're
Is
trying
the
to
reward-
actually reward our work. That's
Is the
what
reward
socialism
paying for
is to
college?
reward people for their work.
Socialism is not. Listen, the people who work hard every day.
Josh, be quiet. Be quiet. Is the reward that you're talking about paying for college?
No.
So what's the reward?
I'm
If you
talking
get
about
college,
making
if you
money.
get college for
like,
free,
like how
when you,
I
Josh,
work
stay with
harder
me,
than
Josh,
other
stay
people,
with me,
and I
Josh,
make more money
Josh,
than those
Josh,
people do.
stay with me.
Do you know
Josh.
why? Because
Josh,
we live in a capitalist
nobody can hear
society.
you. My mic is louder than yours. Stop talking when I'm talking. Nobody can hear you. You're shouting into the void. Josh, when you go to college, it's with the idea that you'll get a job when you're done with college, right? That's the reward is the job that you got an education for, right?
No.
Then
That's
what's
not
the reward?
anything I'm talking about.
Then what's
All I'm
the
trying
reward?
to tell you is the difference between socialism and
No,
capitalism.
what is the reward, Josh? I'm asking a specific
Money.
question. I'm not
money, bro.
Money, and
money.
where do you get that
You don't
money?
have to go to college to make money, bro.
Okay, but the people that go to college, Josh, what is their reward for going to college?
Debt.
Okay, great. So what if the reward was a good job and no debt? That sounds like a better reward.
Yeah, sure does.
Yeah, that's why
But that's
we
not
like
what I'm
it better
talking
than
about.
that's why we
Again.
like it, Josh.
But listen, dude, that doesn't. If everybody's getting the exact same thing, except for the elites at the top, because they're the ones who run everything.
What do you mean by the
correct?
exact same thing?
This is where Josh has no idea what socialism
If government-
is. Josh is incorrectly.
Oh, I know what
explained-
socialism
No, you
is,
don't. You
please.
just proved it. Not everyone gets the same thing in socialism. So right there, off the bat, you are incorrect. So try again. Start over.
Josh, do you think
okay, then-
everybody? Josh, is that what you're saying? Are you saying that you think everybody in socialism, except
Everybody's
for a very
gonna have
Josh,
the
Josh,
same
that's the middle of the
healthcare.
question again. Josh, this is crazy, brother. I can't believe you engage with people for a job and you don't know how conversations work. So let me try this again.
I don't engage
Josh,
with people. I
Do you
work for
think,
Border
Josh?
Patrol.
Do you think that socialism is everybody makes the same amount of money except for a few select elites? Is that what you?
That's
think?
exactly what he thinks.
It's not just that, but you get
No,
the
it's
same
not that at all.
healthcare.
It's
You
0%
get the same
that,
benefits.
Josh, that's
It's
not
the
what
Again,
same
it's not that at all. That's
It's the
completely
same
wrong.
for
Josh,
everything.
Josh, why don't you learn something?
And
Why do
everyone.
you sit in these lives and and not learn anything? As long as you're here, do you hear us telling you that what you think socialism is wrong? That's incorrect. No part of socialism is that.
Okay, tell me what socialism is then. Go ahead.
This is Felice. Felice, can you?
I don't really want to
Okay,
explain
I
it to
will.
him, but
Okay.
you can go
Yeah,
for it.
socialism is an economic policy that basically gives the right of the people to own their own means of production, meaning that the difference between capitalism
Stop
is
doing
that,
whatever you're doing.
Yeah, Josh, could you?
Stop counting your little piggy bank, please. It's too loud.
It's basically democratizing your workplace. So no matter where you work, you have a say in how things go, and you own your own capital. So when you put work into the business, you own, or not your own capital, excuse me, you own your own labor. So it's people sharing in the fruits of a business rather than just one person or a group of investors sharing in the means of the business. It does not mean, however, that everybody gets paid the same. People might put in more work. Those people get paid more. The work that they do might produce better outcomes, so those people can get paid more. But at the end of the day, when you are at work, it democratizes the workplace. It gives you a voice when you go to work. So you can be poor under socialism, and your next door neighbor can be rich under socialism, and you can even work at the same place and make different amounts of money. The thing is, Josh, is there has been a decades-long propaganda campaign since the Cold War and, well, before the Cold War, that socialism meant what you think it means. And they propagandized that because the capitalists didn't want to lose control over their businesses. They didn't want the workers to have rights. So they propagandized socialism to say everybody makes the exact same. And most of the country now understands that that's not true. That's not what socialism is. But there's this Republican Party that for some reason refuses to be educated on what socialism means, because if they admit that socialism means what it actually means, then that ruins all of their arguments for why they've been giving handouts to billionaires for decades and why they keep floating the rich. The only way they can keep taking care of their rich buddies is by making you scared of the word socialism. Because if they tell you the truth about it, suddenly it's not going to make a whole lot of sense why they're propping up just the rich.
You got, Josh. That's what we're trying to tell you. Right now, capitalism, right, is about workers, us, Josh, you, me, we're all on the same team. We're all just part of the workforce, and we do a job. And instead of keeping our surplus, whatever profit is made, right, is going up to the top, not to us. We're just getting paid some, right? And that's what we're talking when we're talking about wealth inequality, Josh. Like, you were making the point. I just want to really clarify. It's not about like you are going to make the same amount as someone who doesn't work. We are all on the same team. Unless we're talking about we want to stop the wealth gap and make wealth inequality. When we're talking about the CEO of General Motors right now is making 366 times the average worker at General Motors. That's the wealth inequality that shouldn't be happening. When we talk about co-ops, right, like the Mondragon example, this huge co-op in Spain, the wealth inequality there, the highest ranked employee makes 6 times more than the lowest ranked employee, because we shouldn't be producing a surplus of privatized profit and handing it to a capitalist who gets that profit because he had capital, right? That's it. That's the difference. As long as we are making a surplus and handing it off to someone else to live off of and profit from, we are slaves. We want to democratize the workplace.
Ownership. You cannot.
Bro, your internet's breaking up. We can't hear you, Josh.
And socialism.
Josh.
There's not. Okay,
your
can you
internet's
hear me
breaking
now?
up. That's
Can
better.
you hear
Yeah.
me?
Thank you. Yep.
Okay, so there's zero private ownership in socialism. You guys do understand that, correct?
That's not true.
Really? Okay, so you can have a private ownership.
You
of what?
absolutely
Property, businesses,
a
what?
house. You can own property. Why do you think there's so many things changing? Like, this is what we're trying
Because
to tell
it
you.
doesn't.
This is just a
socialism
campaign. This is a
eventually
campaign.
will take your private
That's not
ownership
true.
of everything.
Josh, that's not true.
Okay.
So
Like
I don't know
said,
what else to tell you
socialism
except
doesn't
that's
work,
not
guys.
true, Josh.
There has been countries
Josh,
that
that's
try
not
it.
true.
Look at Canada. Canada's kind of socialist. I mean, my God, they have one of the worst healthcare systems ever.
Their healthcare
Josh
system
is saying
has better.
words.
Their healthcare system has better outcomes than
ours
does.
So it's better than
No, it
ours.
does not.
Whatever.
That's
Yes,
not
it does,
does,
Josh.
You can
No, it does
again. You
not.
haven't
Josh,
studied
look it up.
anything. You don't know anything. They literally have better outcomes than us, dude.
Josh, you say things you feel, and none of them have been true yet.
Okay. All right, guys. Like I said, private ownership, socialism is gone.
You're wrong,
You
though,
will have
Josh.
none.
This is the
That's
thing.
absolutely
You're
not
wrong.
true.
And by the way, neither one of us are
Okay.
advocating for
Well,
socialism. Josh, we're not
I
even.
know what socialism is, but okay.
Okay, you don't know. That's what we're trying to tell you. You don't know.
Okay. Well, let's
Josh,
look. I mean,
you
can I
have-
read it? I'll read
Josh,
it from the
Yeah,
I'll
read
read
it.
the definition if you like.
Please. Where's the
A
definition?
movement
Where are you reading this
encompassing a
definition
range
from,
of
Josh?
economic, social systems by social ownership of the means of production, just like you said, as opposed to private ownership.
Of the means of production, not private ownership in general. They're talking
He doesn't
only
know
of
what
the
it
means
means.
of production. Josh.
No, listen.
Private ownership. It's
Wait,
Not of
Josh,
houses.
It opposes private ownership.
Josh, hold
You
on.
have no idea
Josh,
what you're talking
Josh,
about.
let's-
Just let us explain.
Let's go back. Let's read the.
Look, I don't have all day 'cause I gotta work, but I'll see you
I'm
soon,
talking.
man.
Joshy, I'm talking. So I'm gonna have you.
And I'm
read-
out.
You're out.
He ran. He ran because he was wrong. Josh, we're still going to explain why you're wrong, whether you're here or not. You just could have stayed and seemed less scared.
Yeah.
That's so embarrassing.
Josh,
Like,
what
of-
it said is that that the means of production was owned socially, not privately. It specifically said means of production. It didn't say everything
No
is
one
owned
can own
socially.
anything.
It specifically said means of production. You read it in your definition. I don't know if you have read sentences before. I've heard what you've said before. I don't think your comprehension is great. I think that you find something in the sentence that you think promotes your theory, and you just stick with that. You just remove all context, and then you're like, look, it said private ownership, and then you just decided that was everybody.
Yeah, and like the point is just like, think about it like Amazon. The means of production is everything it takes for the company to operate, right? Like, do we need Jeff Bezos, or could Amazon just operate the same as it was without him, right? We don't need capitalists collecting privatized profit, collecting the surplus, right? If we all owned part of the company, like a co-op, and had a stake, some skin in the game, the company could run just as it is, but we don't hand off the surplus, the profit, to a capitalist overlord. We no longer are slaves. That's what socialism is about, is democratization of the workplace.
Cue the Pay Nina chats. Jesus
That
Christ.
was amazing.
Wow.
Sorry about that, pal.
You're
They
just
love to
being
hate
followed
me.
around the internet. Wow, Gorilla, you were great in David's live yesterday, by the
Yeah,
way.
honestly, great
God,
great
I
job.
was like having the
I sent
Twilight Zone.
Gorilla gifts during a live. That live was one of the most bizarre things. For anybody who wasn't in there, David and Gorilla were explaining to other MAGAs that systemic racism
Just
exists.
schooling them.
And Gorilla started bringing up, you won't believe this, sources. Real sources.
Facts,
showing-
studies.
It was unbelievable. I was so
Just
proud of you.
proving that systemic racism existed. And they were like, it was amazing. The whole thing was amazing.
Well, I saw I don't know, I don't want to call it a documentary, but they went through, it was California realtors talking about the difference of ownership by race. And it was like, wow. Wow. So you're a black person, you own a house, you sell it for less than a white person would. I think I saw that like a year ago.
Yeah, property values and things like that, when you look at systemic racism, it's scary. Like the one you were saying is super interesting. Like what were you saying, when black people move out or move to an affluent neighborhood, they're willing to pay more for their house. But
Yeah,
is
no,
that,
so if they move to a poor neighborhood, the values go up.
yeah,
They move to a middle class neighborhood, they go down.
yeah,
Like, just based on color. I thought the interesting one was the police one, where when the sun goes down, the difference.
Sundown towns?
Well, like the sun goes downtown, or it goes down and it's darker, so they can't tell your colors, so they get pulled over less. Because
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a crazy stat. You're sounding awful CRT-y, Guerrilla Radio. This is what CRT is. Do you think this is harmful information?
Gorilla's teaching his own CRT classes now.
So the reason I requested to come up was, do you guys know the number one country of asylum seekers and what their country is?
Asylum seekers coming here?
Yeah.
I want to guess though, but how many guesses do I get? Is
One.
it like Sudan,
No.
Venezuela, Cuba.
Oh, you got number two and number one. Cuba is number one, socialism. Venezuela, number two.
No,
socialism.
but yeah, like Cuba and Venezuela aren't social, like, right? Like they're authoritarian dictators. But what was I
they're
gonna say?
one
Yeah,
party
this is
state.
what I was. You must not have been in here, but this is what I was talking about. Like Anthony Blinken was in Mexico yesterday, meeting with the president of Mexico, and that's what the president of Mexico was saying. Like, you want people to stop coming to your southern border. You need to recognize Cuba and Venezuela as countries, acknowledge the coups you guys created, and repair the damage, because that's where all these people are coming from. They were talking about like just strategies of how to stem like the insane flow of people to the southern border. And yeah, ironically, it's the countries that we destabilize that's the craziest thing, that people are flooding to our southern border. And I agree, it's a crisis. When I read like 3 New York Times articles about the meetings in Mexico with Anthony Blinken and the president of Mexico, and we have a humanitarian crisis on our hands. And like when climate refugees start coming as well, like the scary thing is this is not going to stop. We do have to figure out a way to fix this, and it has to be creative. We have to think critically, and we need to do something fast.
Yeah, I think a couple things, right, that I don't think is delineated, right? Where when we talk about how great socialism is, I think you guys should specify that we just want a couple more socialist programs, not a whole socialist country. Because if you look at history,
Yeah.
when you give power to the
Yeah.
government, you don't get it back, right? And you're looking at these one party socialist countries like Cuba and Venezuela, and they're not good examples. But if we had
But that's not
socialist,
social. You're right. And that's what we said. We
yeah,
said, or RTP said at one point, like, we're not advocating for socialism. Like, that's absolutely right. Socialism is an idea, was a reaction to capitalism. Okay. Like, that's what people need to understand. When it became clear that, because the promise was we get rid of kings and queens, we get rid of the feudal system, right? It started with like the French Revolution, no more kings and queens. And then there's going to be more equality, freedom, equality, egalite, liberté, whatever the French
yeah,
Revolution slogan was. Yeah. And that when that didn't materialize, that's when people like Karl Marx and so the socialist parties, the Labor Party, progressives started saying, "Oh wait, capitalism promised the equality, and we're not seeing that. It's just the kings and queens became the capitalists, right? Just the people that had the capital to provide. They just went by a different name. They never went away. They didn't really get rid of them, and so." That was something going on in the 1800s. The solution for us, for the United States, the leader in technology, the largest gross domestic product, is something new. It's a hybrid. We need to think critically. Like when we talk about universal healthcare, that's a social program. We should all be able to go to the doctor. That is working all across Europe. All
yeah.
the successful healthcare systems ranked above us are universal healthcare. Like we're talking about things like that. We are not saying like we should end up in a corrupt system, because like corruption can happen in capitalism like it is now, and it can happen in socialism, like with examples of authoritarian leaders who took over third world countries and have never given them back since, right? So corruption can happen anywhere. We're talking about forward thinking, critical thinking. In my opinion, we don't leave capitalism. We have some sort of hybrid, right? Between socialism, so we subsidize capitalism, we subsidize and regulate capitalism essentially, but we
Yeah,
don't leave it.
I agree that, like, we're the number one, quote unquote, number one country in the world. And what do we get out of it? We get 50 kinds of soda pop.
Exactly. Think
Like,
about it. That's
let's
what socialism.
socialize our education. Let's
Yes.
socialize maybe even oil. We've talked about that before. Yeah, so there's a few things,
You hang
healthcare,
around us
right?
long enough, gorilla. That's all I'm saying.
No, but that's it,
No,
though.
because
Keep it
you
there.
are a critical thinker and you looked into the information. That's what I realized about you last night was systemic racism. What I will say about you is like you're a guy who you will argue and it ad nauseum, as they say in Latin. It makes me
Yeah,
crazy. But then you will go and you will look up information. And
yeah.
then the next time I see you, based on whatever information you have found, that's now what you're basing your debate off of. And I respect you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. So now let's go south. Back to the asylum seeker thing. I don't think, right, you said it earlier that you're filing for asylum because your life is in danger. But we have people from Nicaragua, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Honduras. They're going through multiple countries to file asylum in the United States. If your life's in danger and you think the government's out to unalive you, you don't go from Costa Rica through Nicaragua, then Honduras, then El Salvador, Guatemala to Mexico.
Sure you do.
You go
Sure
right
you
to
do.
the next country and file asylum and say, my country's
No,
out to get me.
but what if those countries don't offer much protection for these people? They offer almost nothing in terms of the ability, because remember, you're relocating. You're not just running from oppression. You're also you have to find a new place to live. There are no opportunities for somebody leaving Venezuela and showing up in Nicaragua or Costa Rica. They don't have the infrastructure to even deal with it, and they don't have the United States government, our military, our strong borders, our police to protect them. The safest place for these people oftentimes is going to be the United States. That's why they're here. Do you think they want to walk all that way? Do you think they want to make that journey? Do you think they want to pay a bunch of people, like a bunch of these mules to get them across, knowing the stories of how people are abused, how people are taken advantage of, how people are stolen from? No. The easiest way would be if the next country over for them offered protection and help, but it doesn't. That's why they keep going north until they have a place where they can reestablish an actual life.
So none of those countries are any good. That's our problem.
It's not that they're any good, but do you want to move to any of those countries and start and rely on making a living in either
Well,
of
I
those
lived in
countries?
South America, and I've lived in Mexico. I can just say, like, yeah, in terms of safety, do they provide? If I was running, did I ever feel safe in South America? No, but like, I don't know what else to say. No, I did not. I was acutely aware.
So
that I was not safe.
so here's the list: Cuba, Venezuela. Then you have two countries that aren't even connected, right? Haiti, Afghanistan. Like, so they're just coming here. Haiti is third on the list. Afghanistan is
Oh
fourth.
yeah, but they come through Mexico. Yeah, they go to Mexico first. Like Cuban refugees oftentimes will escape to Mexico and then they'll try to enter the US sometimes several times. But a lot of Cuban refugees do make a home in Mexico as well. I know some of them. So yeah.
So
Because it's not safe to come to Cuba. Like I don't know how much you know about like our water borders, but there's no like asylum claims at sea. So as long as they literally, I used to live in Miami for like a year. They have like sticks and they just poke the rafts like back out to sea. Because this is horrible. Like, and they're like dehydrated on these rafts. It's like in shark infested water. And they just like poke the rafts back out because if you make it to shore, if Cubans make it to shore, because we don't recognize Cuba as a country, so there's nowhere to send them back to. Do you know what I'm saying? Or now they are. I think that recently Obama made some deal where Cuba and Venezuela are taking back refugees. But before, if you landed, like with Elian Gonzalez, that guy who they thought the dolphins, the little kid who they thought the dolphins floated here, well, he couldn't go back because there was no deal we didn't recognize Cuba as a country. Where are we going to send them to? So if Cuban refugees make it here, they're citizens. That's
I think
why there's such a
remember.
huge Cuban population.
I remember the raid photos or something where he's like near a
Yeah.
closet. In a
Tony
bedroom.
Ravioli, Tony, Elian stayed at his house.
No way.
Yes, this is a crazy. Too bad if Tony's here, he could tell the Elian story. Elian Gonzalez stayed at his house. Yeah, it's wild.
I was unaware of that. That's crazy.
Yeah, we'll get him to tell the stories next time you see Tony. Ask him about Elian Gonzalez.
Wow.
It's a whole thing.
But that was in Florida? What, he had a house there?
No, but they took Elian up to, I can't remember where. This is one of his like mansions, like outside of like Maryland or something, like one of the Boyardi like estates. I don't know. There might be an article about it. I don't know, but yeah, he tells the story
crazy.
obviously way better than I would. He's a story for everything. But yeah, so I think though, because I just read all of these articles in the Washington Post and New York Times about the meetings in Mexico with Anthony Blinken. And I believe that I read in one of those articles that now Biden made a deal or they are sending refugees back to Venezuela and Cuba, but before they weren't. So, and we're sending people back now because we have to. Like, this is a crisis. If anyone's thinking like the left is denying we have a humanitarian crisis on our hands, well, I'm not. I understand.
Yeah,
what we're not calling it is an invasion. That's the difference.
Oh yeah, it's not an
we
invasion.
think it's a problem, but for totally different reasons.
Yeah, exactly. It's not. And plus, I just want to say, like, Gorilla, what would you do? If you were truly running for your life, you had to flee. You had kids. You do whatever it took, right?
Right. Yeah, for sure. For
I
sure.
was reading about these Sudanese refugees. They've made it here from Sudan, and like it was like this New York Times reporter who was like, they're camping somewhere. It's freezing in the desert, like right over I think it was the Arizona Mexico border, and the reporter's like asking them like, you guys don't have any water, because they'd given him water. And like, aren't you scared you're gonna die out here? And he said, he's like, oh no, this is fine. He's like, in the Sudan, there's no peace. He's like, there's peace here. This is fine. It's like these people are just like, there's nothing that could be worse than where they came from.
Yeah, so it's just crazy because I mean, even in the comments on this live just today, I've heard, within the last 10 minutes, someone wrote, the borders aren't open, and it's like we just want to argue over semantics and not it's fucked. I mean, we have 500,000 people caravan, 500,000 people are on their way here.
We have
right
like
now.
3 million people, I read, that are now it's like from 1.9 million to like 3 million in like a year, like in terms of like cases to be heard, right? And I was reading like, yeah, like there's no place to put anyone anymore. So pretty much they are releasing everyone into the United States. But it's about what can we need to think about what can the problems be. And the thing is like the bottom line is, how are we going to get people to stop coming here? Think about it. If we're thinking critically, how do we get people to stop coming here? Don't you think we need to stop destabilizing countries? We need to come up with programs to enrich people's lives and make them safer where they are, right? Or
Yeah.
it's not
Check
going to
this
stop
out.
happening.
So when I was looking up the countries that come here for asylum, this is the chart that they have. It says from 2000 to 2022. Look at this shit. Watch. Boom, boom, boom. See how low it is? And then look at now under Biden. Do you see how that just shoots up?
Wait, but Gorilla, here's the other part you're missing. Go backwards. See how it's low, it's steady. What year did it start going up?
It started right there. What's it say?
Around 2014. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was happening? What was happening during that time to these countries south of us?
Probably
starting to see some destabilization. Now you see
Yeah.
a massive spike there under Trump too in 2019. See that peak there under Trump?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, that was just after we started fucking with Venezuela, and we told Venezuela essentially like 50% of their money comes from us because they nationalize oil, and we were buying 50% of their oil, and Trump's like, we're not buying your oil anymore. He put restrictions that bankrupted them immediately.
Yeah.
That meant that suddenly and what is a country going to do when they don't have money anymore? Yeah, there's going to be certain people who get taken care of and certain people who don't. These were retaliatory sanctions by Trump that caused this destabilization. And the only reason you see that dip afterwards is because of COVID and because we closed the border. But this started under Trump. This started because we insert ourselves all over the world, and Trump specifically is just petty as fuck. Like this was a petty thing that he did. He tried to stage a coup. He wanted to do some favors for his oil buddies, and he did. And now we're seeing the fruits of that, and he's blaming it on Joe Biden. This is the part that I think you'll think is fair. To us as Democrats, it rings incredibly stupid to say that Joe Biden is the reason these people are coming to the border. There's not an argument for that, right? You think that they're not coming here because of Joe Biden, right?
Yeah, they know, and you can see videos. I watched one yesterday where they're all about, like, the illegal is saying, we love Joe Biden, we love, of course they're going to air that on right-wing media. But
do you think those people would be saying, like, if they were being let into the country and Trump was president, don't you think they might also be saying, like, we love Donald Trump? Because the people that are coming here, it's not like they understand our system. It's not like they understand who wrote the laws, what the laws might be, which parties support which laws. Like, you can't point to something Joe Biden did that caused this. It started before his presidency. It continued during his presidency. So that's the frustration for us.
They know that they're not going to try as hard to send them back.
Right. So when
that's why you can see that with Obama and this, if you look at the stats when Obama, because he was.
But we're deporting more people now than we ever have been. We're sending more people back than we ever have been.
So because it's 10 times the amount.
Okay,
so this
I
is the
know,
question,
but I'm just
though.
saying, like, that's not true.
that thought real quick?
Republicans are.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So the question is then, like, if it's not Biden, if it wasn't specifically Trump, if we're going to discuss, like, what are we going to do about it? Republicans don't have a plan.
Well, I think
how are they going to fix it?
You said that earlier too, that there's no plan, and it's like we need to do all of it. Any idea?
Their only plan seems to be like like Trump's plan is shoot them in the leg, maim them, so they're scared to come over the border.
Yeah, and I would, before I forget, I want to also state that I understand that it's a little bit disingenuous for me to rag on these socialist countries. You have to consider what we do to, in Cuba, they're driving.
That's all we're saying
57 cattle,
we have to, the step to fixing this problem, because I want to fix this problem, especially after, like, I did a deep dive into, like, this crisis the last couple of days. We have to do something about this. And with the start of that is being honest with ourselves and saying, where did we create this problem? That's in destabilizing economies to the south of us, right? We destabilized a bunch of economies to the south of us. And now we have to stop doing that. We have to make sure that economies in these countries to the south of us are healthy, because when they're not, now we see what the crisis that is occurring. So we have to be willing to recognize that the most people are coming from Cuba and Venezuela. We have to fix relationships with those countries, and we have to see what we can do to stabilize those countries, because these people have to stay there. I no longer want to talk about whose fault it is. Like, this is a crisis. This is a humanitarian crisis. People are suffering endlessly.
Yeah.
And now we need to talk, Democrats and Republicans together, about immediate solutions. And it's not on the president to come up with a solution. Even though in 2021, Biden did put forth an immigration bill for more funding and was shot down. But Congress then, Republicans who now control the House and drafted the drafting of legislation, they have to come to the table with an immigration bill. We have to throw money at this problem. And write up an actual plan, right? Like, it can't just be, this is what I want. It can't be a talking point in the election. This can't just be the thing that gets Republicans want to win an election on the border. So until the presidential election, they have a vested interest in what? Not fixing it. And that's messed up, because Americans are suffering because of this. And we have an entire humanitarian crisis going on at our southern border because of this.
Well, let me ask you this. I think I may have just had an epiphany. So looking at Cuba, and I don't know the history of it, and maybe you do since you taught history. I think of Cuba like they're awesome people. They should be our friends because they're close by, especially. What happened in the events that caused us to embargo? Was it strictly that they were a dictatorship, a one party, that we were like, oh no, we're not going to talk to them because they're ran by one guy and we promote democracy? Is that what happened? Because there was no reason why Russia should be putting nukes in their country.
Well, that's what happened. You're right, the Cuban Missile Crisis. And what happened was, we gave people a choice after World War II, right? Get on board with capitalism, or you're a third world country. Like, if you don't know where the third world country term comes from, it's if you sided with America in World War II, with the Allies, you're a first world country. The second world was our opponents, and the third world was everyone else who didn't take a side. And there were many, many South American countries who came from indigenous cultures that were involved in communal living and so things like socialism, who did not ascribe to capitalism and were in many ways punished for it. But and when they needed protection from the United States, right? Fidel Castro, all of that, then we had Russia got involved, and the Cuban Missile Crisis.
So the epiphany was that, okay, maybe we should talk to these countries. They're close by. They're good people. They're being oppressed, right?
Yes.
They're driving around cars from
It's better for us to be friends with Cuba than not be friends with Cuba. Look what it's doing.
Okay, so now let's look at Trump going into North Korea.
Oh, God.
You see what I'm saying? Oh, wait.
Wait, but what did he didn't do any, that was just to visit and say hi. What are you talking you thought he was going to liberate North Korea? Are you saying
tea time? He had to get back.
No, but we had COVID. We had 2 impeachments. There was a lot of stuff going on where that relationship could have been developed more. And they did.
I gotta stop you there because like 3 or 4 months after he returned from North Korea, they went back to doing all the stuff that they promised him they wouldn't do. And that's actually why he stopped negotiating with North Korea, because they didn't sign anything. There was no real treaty there. They basically had a gentleman's agreement that North Korea would stop testing out their missiles, and they would stop that program. Handshake agreement. 3 or 4 months later, they're back to testing the missiles again. And so the Trump administration was like, all right, well, fuck that. We're not doing that. They tried. I'll give them credit. They did try, but it did nothing. And he's not going to get anywhere with North Korea. Nobody is. But his visit there was cool for North Korea, whatever for us, but it did nothing.
I don't know how long that Kim line can really last. You know what I mean? Something's going to have to happen. And it's like the largest humanitarian crisis in the world. I mean, these people starve. In the spring, they eat grasshoppers because, none of the vegetables.
You're talking about North Koreans? Yeah.
It's
like they're real starvation. Like, like what's going on in the Republic of the Congo, like horrific starvation. It's torture.
Yeah, it's insane. I think that, but yeah, that was my epiphany just now. Like, Trump went to North Korea and you guys are all frown on
I see why Nemo likes talking to you. I used to be like, I don't see it. And he'd be like, you'd have to stay up all night.
Hey, I'm 10 minutes over. I got to go be with my daughter. But Gorilla, I wanted to give you time because you blew my mind a little bit yesterday and today. I appreciate the fact that you went and you fact checked those things. Honestly, it's commendable.
Hell yeah.
All right, brother. Be well.
Good
Bye,
talk.
guys.
See you
Have
later.
a great day.
Bye, Felice. I hope you had so much fun. See you guys tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. to noon Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday. We'll see you guys in the morning.